movie this year is Marvels. Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Marvel. Thank you for
Marvels.
being Hit Play's #1 movie of the year.
I'm quitting.
And our least favorite movie of the year,
Say it.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
I expected Oppenheimer, to be honest.
It made me hate white people.
Never mind, he brought it back.
Second favorite movie of the year, Aquaman. Congrats, Aquaman.
it did come out
Came out
It was
yesterday.
an Aquaman that came? Oh,
It came out last
Yesterday.
week. Or this week. Yeah.
Came out the 20th.
jeez.
Yesterday.
gross.
All right. In all fairness, we are back. We are here. Last episode of the year. Whoa,
Yeah.
that rhymed. Holy shit.
did, yeah.
I'm on one today.
Dude, you got them bars.
I got bars. Yeah, we're here. We're doing my favorite episode of the year, as always.
The last one.
The last one.
Good job.
But yeah, 2023, end of 2023 for us, and for everybody else watching this, unless you're watching this in the future.
Happy 2027.
Happy 2024. You look
Yeah.
good. You
Or
look-
unless Isaac takes forever to edit it and it comes out
happy.
next year.
Nah, it takes me pretty quick to edit. Anyways, we're here to do our best of 2023. Just really pop culture, but we'll get into the nitty gritty of our movies. There's somewhat of a structure.
Somewhat.
When have we ever had a structure?
But this one's gonna be a long one, so bear
Oh,
with
yeah.
us. It's been a while. We might lose each other at some point. But yeah, here we go. Let's get into it. So 2023, just looking back, just like a quick overview. Best year for movies of the 2020s.
For blockbusters, it
I
was
would just
basically
say-
the death of Marvel.
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
say for movies, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think this year was the nail in the coffin for Marvel or DC. We still got the Marvels and we still got Aquaman. And I mean, Aquaman has historically done numbers and Ant-Man. But
Man, was this year?
yeah,
yeah.
Oh my god.
February.
Quantumanium. But we're definitely, if we look back at a watershed moment, it would probably be this year, I think,
Yeah.
for the end of the superhero era.
God
Yeah.
bless.
And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we've talked many, many times about what they should do and what they will do. But yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
It's super weird what's gonna happen with this genre.
I can't wait for 2025 when they just reboot it all into the Infinity War saga once more with feeling.
With the same actors.
With the exact same acting.
Yeah, yeah. So, but 2023, I was looking at it for me personally, and 4 of my 6 favorite directors released the movie this year. It was like
So you were eating pretty
I was
good.
feasting.
Yeah, you were having a good time.
I had a Nolan, a Scorsese, a David Fincher, and then well, I guess Richard Linklater's movie never did come out, but it was supposed to come out.
We got Ridley Scott.
We got the bad Ridley Scott.
We got a Ridley Scott movie at the very least.
Yeah. So if Dune 3 had come out, or Dune 2, I guess, had come out this year, that
It
would
would have
be
completed
like
the.
4 of my 6.
You would have ascended.
Yeah.
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 I would
You
have had 4 of the
reached
5
final
pieces
form.
of Exodia. So yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty good year for movies and games. Games too, which I
It
think
was a great year for games. Are you kidding me? Oh my
Definitely.
god.
All right, we're not going to start there.
We'll let
Yeah,
Connor
no.
cook for 15 minutes on games. Yeah. So it was a good year for pop culture. Olivia Rodrigo released an album.
All right, so this was for movies. The most.
Taylor Swift became a thing again.
Let's not say we did. James, take it away.
All right, let's get into it. So movies. James has a list of all the movies that we released.
Yes,
talked
that we
about-
reviewed. I don't know if these are exactly in chronological order, but let's start with Super Mario Bros. Since I think that was one going into this year, we were all tentatively excited for. Did you end up seeing it?
No,
I did.
was
I
not-
did see it.
I was not
Okay.
excited for it at all.
Well, Chris Pratt, man, or not? Yeah, he's so
Yeah,
funny.
that's why I wasn't excited.
Yeah.
There was nothing about this movie that excited me.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I
Same.
think I mentioned it. I was like, anytime an animated movie is hyping up the voice actors and not like just
how faithful it will be to
a
the video
good
game.
movie. It's like
Well, no, let me add an amendment to that. Anytime they're hyping up the voice actors who are not actual voice actors,
yeah.
then you lose me.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get this did so well. We're not gonna get a Legend of Zelda one.
I want to die.
That makes me even less excited.
Like, I get it. Of all of Nintendo's franchises, it's probably the best option for live action.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw live action Legend of Zelda announced, I wanted to curl up and never wake up again. I have never been less excited for a piece of film in my life. And I lived through the Halo series.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a movie that came out this year.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie
made a
that
lot
came
of
out.
made a lot of
money.
Excuse me. I think it's like number 2 behind Barbie, number 3, something like that.
Not bad. Not going on my list though.
No, definitely not.
No, not even an honorable mention.
I mean, considering I only watched maybe like 10 movies this year, it's probably going on my list. But
It doesn't have to be a top 10. Yeah, last year I had like 6.
You can have a top 5 and the bottom 5.
yeah. I mean, personally, I actually enjoyed it, but I wasn't going and expecting anything other than a piece of crap film. So I was like, this is fun. You know, I was like, it wasn't good.
I just didn't
Just
like
a
it
good
because
time,
it
yeah.
just felt like pure TikTok
Oh, yeah, of course.
kid syndrome.
It didn't even have
Where it was
like
just nothing. It doesn't stop.
yeah. I
There
feel
were
like
just. I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
I'm interrupting you. I feel like it didn't even have the magic that a lot lot of animated movies have.
I mean, there's
Have
an
anyway.
animated movie we'll get to in like probably 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to talk about that one.
But yeah, it's like I don't know. It was a movie.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I have
speaking of games-
because we did a review of it. I think
Speaking of games, we also saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
we did.
This
did.
is out of chronological order.
Yeah.
That one was actually surprisingly
That
good.
one was great.
That's in my honorable mentions for sure.
Yeah, for sure
Yeah.
for me too.
Yeah.
That was definitely
Really going
I-
from a really bad adaptation to a really good adaptation.
Because
Yeah.
I personally went into it, and I think I mentioned this to you guys during the episode. Was like I went into it just to have a good time, and I had a good time. But it was also like surprisingly
Better.
a well put together movie.
Yeah.
Actually, a good film.
Yeah, it's like, and you don't really get that. I mean, we talked about we did a whole thing about fantasy genre, but you don't get that nowadays with the fantasy genre. And it's nice when you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Definitely an
as a
honorable
DM,
mention.
It was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then all
Nerd.
the little, all the little stuff about the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, the
and
fact
stuff
that it was actually
yeah.
like talking about the game itself. It was pretty sick.
the characters fought in a certain order in 6-second increments. Which when I showed you that TikTok, I was like, this is the cool.
Yeah.
This just made me.
The coolest thing in the world. Yeah. So many
freaked
small
out.
details in that movie.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again. Really just take
No,
it
it's
all in.
definitely yeah.
Okay.
Top tier.
Now, moving on, we also saw Creed,
We did.
which I don't think you saw that one.
So I'll
This
sit
was
that out.
Creed 3.
Yeah.
The
The third of Greeks. Jonathan Majors decided to become a method actor.
yeah, for real. R.I.P.
For reference, Jonathan Majors.
He plays a boxer in this movie, and then he beat up people in real life.
Yeah, and literally the first time you see him in this movie is he's coming out of prison. So everybody's
Nice.
making the joke that like this is what it's gonna be like when he gets out.
It's just a future.
The Marvel executives when they have to meet him. Yeah. But this was also Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut.
Correct.
Which I think we both praised him.
First Rocky movie without the man himself,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone.
In case you were lost.
I've been lost and just said Creed.
I mean, in
The
a way,
band.
he is the
It's
sports
about the
movie.
band.
In a way, he is the sports movies. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah. There was one moment in this film that still sticks out to me, and that was the final fight scene where they go into that, like, however you want to describe it, where they lose track of
cage.
time.
Yeah.
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 That moment, I still remember, like,
I actually-
being blown away by that.
Over the course of the year, I rewatched the trilogy,
Yeah.
and I watched the third one with my mom, and I was like, this was probably like 2 months ago, and I was like, damn, this is still a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
All 3 movies are just really, really solid sports movies, and I have no like bad things to say about.
I
this
honestly think the fact that Michael B. Jordan directed it, and he already at that point has such a personal connection to that
Yeah.
character,
Yeah.
it was like the best decision for him
I
to
think
do.
it also just breathes new, fresh
Fresh life into it.
into
Yeah.
the, because I mean, like the second one we were talking about, it was like, it's cool, but it's just Rocky 4, and it's a different spin on Rocky 4. But this one is like, we can go so many. Like he's just setting up an anime at
Yeah.
this point where we can go so many different ways with this character.
It finds that balance because
Or
he not
characters.
only plays the character himself and knows that character, so he can balance between he wants all those personal family moments, but then he also wants to be able to beat Jonathan Majors up as well. So you find that perfect balance between the
was Michael B. Jordan method.
Did he know something we didn't? Speaking of beating people up. Oh,
by the way, if you guys
Creed
want
3?
in depth of any of these, obviously
We did
the
reviews of them.
are all on our channel. So please go watch those.
Creed 3 will get an honorable mention
Yeah,
for me.
Creed 3 will also get honorable mention.
Speaking of beating people up, John Wick, Chapter 4.
Have you?
I still have not gotten around to watching it.
Have you seen any of the
I've seen-
Rockies?
Not the Rockies. So
Oh,
that
okay.
could be our next.
Okay.
We made Connor watch. Is make me watch.
Well,
the
there's a lot of that.
It's really
when you really watch,
one.
like,
2, 3.
Yeah, you only
Just
really
maybe
watch
watch-
a couple.
Yeah.
It's like the Halloweens.
Yeah.
Is the way,
That's kind of what I figured.
but they're still really good. Anyways, continue. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I was to say, yeah, no, I haven't actually gotten around to watching John Wick 4, which is surprising because I see it on the various streaming services. I'm like, oh, I should watch that, and then I just don't.
Have you seen the other 3?
Of course, you were there.
Oh,
One of
yeah,
those,
that's right.
We've watched most of them together.
You have seen the fourth.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured.
There are a couple. I'll say this. There are a couple cool moments.
Yeah,
which
him
me
falling down the stairs.
Which
Saw that meme?
I mean, I guess it's not really a spoiler.
I don't give a shit.
There are a couple really cool scenes where I'm like, this is cool, but it was just, I was done. I was done with John Wick.
It's like
I was done with John Wick after the second one.
So, yeah, nothing will top the first two. Let's be honest.
nothing will top the first one, honestly.
Yeah, the first one.
First one was too good.
That first one was
That
beautiful.
club scene is still top 10.
It lives rent free in my head.
Yeah, it's-
Anytime
I
I try
watch
to
it,
make
it's
an
fun.
action sequence in anything, I think of that, and I'm like, that's the perfect choreography,
it's so good.
perfect shot.
It's so good.
Beautiful.
Music.
Yeah. This one probably won't even get an honorable mention
No,
for me, though.
I didn't put it in
honestly.
honestly either.
All right. Moving on.
Moving right along.
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's in my list.
That's my number one.
That, full
Yeah.
spoiler, that's my number one.
No, that's not even a question.
Nope,
Oh my god, that
not
film
even.
was
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week.
Tomorrow.
We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you
part
guys after
two.
New Year. Yeah, I mean, oh god, I
An
could.
improvement on every single
Yeah.
front.
Yeah.
Exceeding every expectation.
Yeah. We just pushed animation like 6 years into the future.
Yeah.
I would say, I would argue
Yeah.
that was like the winner of animation for a while. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And
Seriously.
also, the thing I wanted to have you guys, I thought about this topic this morning, so let's have it now. Because we watched a couple animated movies, and there's another one that we'll probably get to in like 10 minutes
Yeah.
that we could talk about. But are we at a point where animation is like actually like GOAT tier?
No, it always
No?
was.
Which I said, yeah, I was about to be like, what do you mean?
No, I mean, there are animated movies I like, but it's a lot of them. It's I grew up either with the nostalgia factor or I enjoy like the actual animation. Now it feels like not only are we getting good animation, we're getting like actually good story, getting good voice acting. We're getting like A+ level music production in our movies instead of like generic MP3s.
I think animation has gotten to a point where it's niche enough that it's not playing by the same rules that blockbusters are.
Yeah.
But it's mainstream enough that it can still like get a budget behind it.
Yeah.
And so you get basically like in the same way where we've talked about New Hollywood back in the 70s, you kind of have that effect going on in animation right now, basically, where it's like, and truth be told, a lot of it is just Chris Lord and Phil Miller anyway, making their Lego Batman movies. But like the way that has trickled down into all animation, with the exception really of Disney
Which is
and
kind of
Illumination.
ironic, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty funny though.
That being said, though, it hasn't always been good for like the industry itself. There's been a lot of between the writer strikes and Blue Sky Studios closing down earlier this year, and then of course Velma on HBO.
Yeah, we don't. Need
No, let's not. We're done. We did, yeah.
So
We're gonna have Connor going.
I don't think all animation is GOAT tier at the moment, but I definitely think there is, like we had talked about this kind of being a watershed year for the death of superhero films. And I've talked about this with Into the Spider-Verse, the first one in this series, how that was kind of the watershed moment for everything else that we're now seeing. I just hope that expands out even further.
Honestly, what I would love to see is that we go away from live action superhero movies and go into animated superhero movies and get more stuff like Spider-Verse. Because, like, in my opinion, that's just the best way to capture these comic book heroes, is that you can't do them justice in the live screen because of all the CGI and crap, and it's just going to end up looking like garbage.
It really says a lot that people have always praised DC for their animated stuff over their live action, and yet Marvel did it in 2 movies better than they have ever done.
I think it's just because Marvel has better superheroes. That's just,
I mean,
that's just a controversial statement.
opinion.
Other than Batman, has any other superhero captured pop culture to the
that's
degree of
just
like Marvel has?
the hero itself. I'm thinking
And I'm not
more
talking
of
just
style.
purely movies. But that's the thing, though, is like the characters are what sell the movie.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's like, why am I going to go watch Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman? Even
Okay,
though it might be a really good animated movie. Who other than the 2 people at this table do I know in my life that are like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman, goated superheroes?
James and I winding up.
Like, no, but if I'm like, yo, Wolverine, everybody's like, holy fuck, Wolverine's badass. I'm gonna go watch like 16 Wolverine movies.
The problem is because the DC superheroes just haven't had good popular stories. You know, so they're on the wayside. But like Green Lantern's a badass. Anyway, I'm not going to get into this argument, but like, anyway.
It's Green Arrow who's better anyway.
All right, James, pretentious dickhead.
I'm more of a Black Canary guy myself.
Okay, I mean, like,
I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. Is like Marvel would just
Yeah.
they
for
were
whatever
a
reason their characters are just more iconic.
I mean, who doesn't love Spider-Man?
Well,
Like, he's such
also,
an open hero.
animation is still.
I've maintained Spider-Man as the #1 superhero just in terms of like relatability.
He's supposed to be.
Because
Yeah.
it
That's the whole
helps.
point. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it
the entire
helps,
purpose
yeah.
of his character. Yeah.
Batman
Right.
is not supposed to be relatable.
What do you mean? He's super relatable. Look at
I'm him.
Anyway, going back to your original point,
Right.
I think part of the, I wouldn't so much say success of these movies, but animation, as much as the people who work in the industry have been trying to prove otherwise, it's still seen as a kid's genre,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, despite the fact that everyone is trying to work against that, that has actually lent itself to the success of these movies reaching a far wider audience than they ever would have anyway.
Sure.
So I think that also would answer part of your reason why it feels like animation is maybe not like better now, but more accessible and feels like it's, hitting its mark stronger than ever, in my opinion.
Well,
I'd agree
I don't
with
know.
that.
The way I think about it is like 10 years ago, would we have had is there an Across the Spider-Verse of 10 years ago where it's a movie for all generations and not just like Care Bears take down North Pole or whatever?
Hey, that was a good film.
Because
Shrek.
we talk about it. I disagree. He's right. And I'm not. Listen, I love animated movies. We've gone back many times on this pod and talked about animated movies that we grew up from our childhood. And like, they stand up.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about in the moment when these movies are released, they are looked through the prism for us as, how we grew up with them. Like, we were children watching these movies for the first time. And adults weren't going to the theaters and like, I'm gonna go watch Ice Age 4 because it's gonna be like the greatest
good
thing of all
movie,
time.
yeah. Yeah,
It's at least not the way, in the same way of like, we all go watch Across the Spider-Verse. I mean, we went into our theater and I think it was maybe like half adults.
Yeah, there was a lot
maybe,
of people. Clearly
and a
they
lot of
without
them were
kids, yeah.
single with no kids.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people just.
It's like 10 years ago, does an animated movie have that effect or that kind of turnout? I don't think so.
At that point, though, I think you would be making the counter argument would be that it's still a superhero film, and that genre has a larger four quadrant than back in the day when animation was just like fairy tale stuff, like Trek. That
I mean, there-
inherently does not reach a larger audience as a genre.
Toy Story 3 comes to mind because, like, I don't know if that was 10 years ago. But well, it's just like that was something that I remember when it came out. My mom wanted to go see it more than I did,
Yeah.
and she was because she had seen the originals when I was a child, and she was like, I don't care if it's for kids. She's like, that story means a lot to me. I want to go see it, and so I saw it because of her, and stuff. But I mean, I feel like part of it's just that it's reaching more adults now because obviously we're growing up.
Right.
we were children when animation first really started to boom. And so like we like animated stuff, but also that generation that had to sit through all the Disneys, all the Pixar crap that we
Shout out
watched
to
as
our
kids
moms and dads.
are like, you know what? Some of those movies really hit. And are watching them now too. Like, you know, so I think there's just, because they were such a kids thing, parents had to go see them, and parents are realizing that they're cool, and so now they're getting an upsurgence because of that. It just had to happen, you know. It's
Yeah. Also, anime exists.
also
You know,
anime.
It's always been cool.
You know, James has a point. Guys, when are we watching the Gurren Lagann movie?
All right.
Anime is also okay. Let's not have that.
let's
debate.
not-
Let's keep it moving.
Let's
Let's keep
move
it
on
moving. We had a good
to
discussion.
a less contentious film, Barbenheimer.
Is that next?
Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Yeah. No contention there.
No contention there. Nope. No disagreement whatsoever.
Barbie, actually, #1 movie of the year.
So I'll spoil it.
Yeah. Is it your number one?
Oppenheimer's my number one.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah. That's
That's
number
respected,
one.
No doubt.
It's a goated
surprising
movie.
nobody.
It's I still think it's Nolan's like most impressive. The fact that he was able to get a movie about an American physicist.
Here it is.
Right?
What were you trying to say?
I get the PSY words all like psychology,
Physicist and
psychiatry,
psychologist. Yeah.
physicist, physician. I get them all confused.
Pterodactyl.
I'm an idiot. Pterodactyl. Yeah, thank you. Pneumonia.
Partition.
Anyways,
Partition.
but the fact that Nolan was able to make almost $1 billion and it's still in the theaters.
It is?
Yes, it's like our Jaws. Barbie has left the theaters. Just throwing that out there. Barbie has left the theaters.
Barbie has left the theaters.
Modern
I
society.
think it's
ladies
the
and
most
gentlemen.
impressive. It's probably I said I re-reviewed it and it's an S tier for me. It's up there with Interstellar and The Dark Knight. It's one of my favorites.
Bad thing to hear from.
Shut up. Let the man
And
talk.
the way I look at it is the way I'm going to look at like The Social Network in 10 years, where it's like, which I also watched last week. It won't be on my list because I saw it like
We see
last
it
year.
every single year. Yeah.
But the way I look at it, 10 years from now will be the same way I look at Social Network, where it just ages beautifully with time, and you can spread its theme on anything in the modern world. And there's a lot there. There's lots of depack, digest with that movie.
So now let's talk about Oppenheimer. That was Barbie, right?
It
No.
was a attack on men.
Thoughts on Oppenheimer? Where would it rank for
never
you?
saw that.
What about the man?
Yeah, you didn't get to see it.
What about the man?
Really?
The person?
Yeah.
You watched Barbie with us. That's right.
Yeah, I was on the
He
back
didn't
half of
want
that
to
episode.
watch Oppenheimer. Yeah.
No, I didn't have time. You guys were gonna go see it when I was
It's
busy.
literally been in the theater since July.
Well, no, I know. I just haven't got it. But like when you guys went to see it, I was busy. And you're like, oh, we're
Okay.
gonna see Barbie the next day. And I was like, well, I'll
So,
join for that.
Have you actually seen it yet?
No, I just said
Okay.
that.
No, he has not.
Okay, I didn't
looked
know
at me and said-
I didn't know we had to go to see movies with you.
No, I just didn't realize that it was
Connor,
still.
you're a grown adult. You can watch movies whenever you want.
I don't think about it.
No, that's fair.
Anyway,
Unless I'm watching something from pod. I think
Anyways, let's move on. Or your thoughts on Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer was definitely my top 5. I can say that much. I'm not going to
Yeah.
spoil where it's at because it's actually probably going to be tied with another movie.
I like that.
Oh,
And it's not going to be a Barbie.
I like teases. Teases are good.
Moving on to Barbie, which honestly,
No.
I don't even want to talk about.
No. I have nothing more to say.
I feel like there are so many video essays that break down the Barbie movie that everything I feel like I need to say has already been
It's
said
not
and
good.
articulated for me.
It's not a good movie.
It's not even that I didn't think that it was a good movie. It's the issues I had with it while I watched it have been better articulated by much smarter people
Sure.
than me.
Yeah.
Most of them, other movie directors. There was an entire thread in like r/movies about European directors complaining about Barbie.
smashing it.
I
Yeah.
found one of those Instagram pages that does like the script to screen thing. And the script is, if it wasn't Barbie and it wasn't Greta Gerwig, I don't know how this movie would have gotten made. Which is funny because
I don't know how it would have gotten $1 billion.
Which is funny because, well, I think it got $1 billion because
It's Barbie.
It's Barbie.
Yeah.
And it is a fun movie.
Yeah,
It's
fun,
fun.
yeah.
I had a great time.
It was
watching
funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. Yeah, we were laughing in the theaters. But like, I look at it the way I look at a Marvel movie.
I look at it the way I do a commercial.
It's just, it wasn't good. I just did not like it at all.
Yeah.
But if you liked it, you liked it. You know, everybody has different tastes.
It's one of those weird things where it's like, it was a fun movie,
Yeah.
and I laughed watching it, but on principle, it is a commercial.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it more than I do.
You could. It's like shot like a car commercial with the Chevy Tahoe. Or whatever.
I found it funny in the same way I find like Geico commercials funny. They make
Geico
me
makes
laugh.
some good stuff.
It's absurd.
That's what I'm saying.
Connor, your thoughts on Barbie?
I loved it.
No, I mean absolutely fair.
No, I'm not faulting anybody for
No, I know,
liking it. It is a funny movie.
Yeah.
It's just when you guys both like immediately like, oh man, this film. I just like kind of like looked up. I was like, oh.
No, I don't hate it.
No, yeah, it's
No,
not,
I
it's not
enjoyed it.
offensive.
No.
I'm not offended by it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, is it top tier media? God no.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's basically a glorified commercial, but I enjoyed what message it attempted to tell.
I hate that it's gonna get so many awards.
I guarantee it's going to get a ton of awards. It's not even a
I
question.
hate it so much. Are Barbie fans gonna be the next Taylor Swift fans that like brigade Instagram?
I feel like that
posts?
Venn
They're probably
diagram
the
is
same.
already a
Yeah,
circle.
it's probably a circle.
When Margot Robbie doesn't get awards, it's like just everybody gonna be like, Margot Robbie was robbed. It's like,
Yeah.
this isn't even Margot Robbie's best acting. Like, I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah,
I
but yeah,
interrupted
that's basically all I don't have too much to say. I'm not gonna like hard defend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it doesn't deserve hard defending. It's just I enjoyed it.
yeah.
Again, by nature of not watching a ton, it'll probably end up on my list somewhere.
Truth be told, I've seen better from Greta Gerwig anyway.
That's.
So-
I think that's the thing that annoys me the most.
Yeah.
That's what you guys said a lot in the pod.
Yeah.
If people are gonna attack other people and be like, "Oh, you're misogynistic, and you hate women," it's like the message Greta Gerwig is telling in this movie is done better in her previous two movies. So like, it's not that we
Yeah.
both went away from the Greta Gerwig podcast loving. We
Little
like those
Women
two movies.
specifically,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
I
like
really
those
like
two
Little
movies.
Women.
Yeah. So it's like it's not even that for me. It's just Greta Gerwig sold out, and I
Yeah.
don't like it. And now she's doing the Chronicles of Narnia, which is cool because hopefully we'll get like
Real Christian
decent
themes.
a decent adaptation.
I just want an updated "Don't Cite the Deep Magic" to me. Which I love when memes come back.
Anyways,
All right,
let's
moving
move
on. Let's move on. We saw another animated film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Honorable
Yeah.
mention.
Honorable
That was a
mention?
great film. I like that one a lot.
It was a fun time. I had fun. Don't really hate it. It's a kids movie,
Yeah.
so I can't.
It was way more a kid's movie than
can't go too hard.
Spider-Verse.
into
Across
it.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. I would watch like 3 more of these.
Let's hope we
Maybe.
get 3 more.
I'd be down. Yeah.
If they make
Animation
'em.
was very, very,
Very
well
good.
done.
Mhm.
So, voice acting was great. Anytime,
Anytime kids
Yes.
can actually like
yes, not only act but voice act.
yeah, and be good and not cringy.
Well,
Well, they are cringy, but that's the thing that makes it so good.
Exactly,
it's like they're actually kids.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
were
that's
they
true
were
too.
perfect.
Yeah, this movie will not age well at all.
No, God, no. Oh no, it's gonna be
No,
awful.
not at all.
I can't wait till we're 30 or
But I
watch this.
love it.
Ugh.
I love it. I love it.
All right,
Let's keep going.
let's keep going.
The Big Kahunas.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Whoa, we missed a couple.
Oh, what did we miss?
We missed The Exorcist.
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just doing movies that came out this year.
Oh, okay.
Not just everything.
Sorry,
that,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So
Okay,
if we're
go.
just doing movies that came out this year that we reviewed,
Okay.
Killers of the Flower Moon, bit of a mood whiplash from TMNT, but this one is
Yeah, we
definitely
had a very interesting like
yeah,
15 weeks.
yeah,
It's a real spread of films this year.
for sure. Top 5 for me.
Yeah.
Not gonna say where it's at because it might be tied with another movie. But
Does that not
nevertheless-
just?
Spoiler.
He said that earlier.
Say the line, Bart. Yeah, no, it's in my top 5 too.
Yeah, I'm not as big a Scorsese fan as you are,
Yeah.
but I definitely really this movie had a deep
8 out of 10.
emotional
It's got a
impact.
little. It's got a little for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The ending, I think, was really tied it all together.
absolutely
Which
for
we
sure.
talked about in a review.
Well, I think we spent most of the review talking about the ending. Actually,
It's such a Connor. You gotta watch the movie.
It's
so good.
it's a good movie. It's an incredibly smart ending. Like you will not be able to
How long
predict
is
it
it?
all. The movie itself or the ending?
The movie.
Like 3 hours.
There it is.
no. You're there. You can watch a 3-hour movie. You're there. You're there.
You have snacks at home
Yeah,
and a
yeah, yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah,
You're
Hey,
good.
Another point in the you guys love a film the longer it goes on category.
I actually don't. I'm very anti like if
He has spent the most time complaining about long films.
I know,
have
I know.
not.
the Batman. The reason the Batman is not an S tier movie for me is purely because it's a 3 hour runtime. When literally you can cut out 15 minutes of it because Robert Pattinson goes like this for every time he picks up something, and it drives me crazy.
Anyway,
I don't mind long movies, but just let's be well paced.
somebody
my only thing.
scroll back and look at Isaac's top 3s that he mentioned earlier of all time.
Oppenheimer from the jump is literally there is not a break in the action until the bomb explodes.
I love making Isaac mad. Anyway, continue.
That is the only time.
Barbie, there is not a break in the action until they return to Barbie.
That is true, though. That is
Yeah,
true.
that is true. All right. Moving on. The Killer. David Fincher.
Yeah, it's
is
in my top
returning to
10.
Netflix.
It's in my top 10. It's good. Another good movie, Connor. You should
Remember you guys talking about that
It
one?
has
It was a couple weeks ago.
probably the most John Wick fight scene outside of John Wick, in my opinion.
Okay, now you have my attention.
Yeah,
That's how you
it's
sell
a
it.
short movie, too.
It's a really.
Watching it tomorrow.
It's on Netflix. It's
something to do
you
while I
could
pack.
probably, you could probably download it for your flight.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Or you could
So you
probably
can
just watch it
on the
Yeah.
plane?
I have a Nintendo Switch. I'm gonna be
Okay,
playing
watch it
video
on your
Oh
Switch
my
then. I don't know.
God. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, The Killer's pretty good. It's very good.
I enjoyed it a lot more than apparently everyone else did.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Very mixed to bad reviews, but I
I
thought
think
it
people
was
are just
perfectly fine.
misunderstanding.
I think
David Fincher
people,
at this point.
honestly,
I think that's all it is.
this movie wasn't that deep. And I think
No.
people really wanted
Yeah.
something that they could analyze.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't.
And then they realized, wait, David Fincher did The Game.
He did Panic Room.
He did Panic Room. He did.
Already Zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like he just sometimes just makes fun movies.
that aren't deep. Yeah. Yeah. I don't
So
know.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
Not his peak, but it's like
Not his peak, but
like
worth
I said,
watching.
Michael Jordan playing for the Wizards, dropping 20 post retirement. For those uninitiated, that's when he came back from retirement the third time, or second time, I guess, at 40 years old and dropped 20. Anyways, moving on. The Big Kahuna,
Speaking of deep movies,
number one.
Napoleon.
Well, something was deep.
What was that?
I'm not gonna finish that joke.
Go on.
I'm not gonna finish that joke.
The most sexual adaptation of Napoleon's life.
Really, just Josephine.
Yeah.
We should just call it Josephine.
It should have
You're
been.
telling me I should have seen this film.
It's not as
Depends on what
explicit.
you like in movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Depends on this movie. It just wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not thought about it since our review. Not even
In my
like
defense, Connor, this is a 2 hour, 45-minute movie. I did not like this. So, just
tick one off for
Isaac, allow me to.
my favorite movie. Connor, I'm not doing this with you.
Allow me to introduce you a core tenet of statistical analysis. Outliers exist in everything.
I'm going to show you my top 10 and show you how many are under,
I'm sure that-
under 2.5 hours.
I'm sure. I'm still gonna make fun of you for it.
My actual top 10.
Also, I
guarantee you
included
half-
James in that initial statement. It's not just you; it's James and Isaac.
and I am guilty of liking movies that are
And
extremely long
the
on
more
purpose.
obscure, the longer
Yeah.
they are, the more James
Yeah.
likes them. It's a given.
No, that's
Yeah.
facts. James recommended me the Lawrence of Arabia. And I was like, oh, how long is he? He's like 4 hours. I was like,
With like 2 intermissions.
We got to get you a different hobby.
I was like, I really want to. I don't want to watch it all in one sitting. That's a long ass movie.
I did.
That's so long.
Not doing anything
It's
for 4 hours.
absurd. Yeah, Napoleon was bad. Not in my top 10. Not in. I don't even want to mention it.
Yeah.
It's in my dishonorable mentions.
Bottom 10.
Okay, but how excited were you for it, given how many
I was very
Napoleon memes
We
that you
were
send me on
both
TikTok?
excited.
we were both really excited. I was excited more for the history. James was excited more for Ridley Scott. But
We were both
we
disappointed.
were both like, yeah.
Well, now that I know you guys
which
bash
is
him, I'm
how
gonna
you know
watch
it's
that.
bad because both the history guy and the actual like
fan
fan of the
Ridley Scott.
director
We're like, nope.
upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that episode now.
It's one of
I
those
skipped
movies
it
that you
'cause I
can
didn't
catch
care.
on like AMC.
If you watched it on a flight, it would
cable.
probably help your flight. Your flight would
Yeah,
take
you would go to
longer
sleep.
if you watched it on your flight.
So I'll download it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
you would go to sleep
Yeah.
in like 30 minutes.
For sure.
I wanted to.
Sounds like the never mind. Moving on.
All right. And then there's one more we didn't do for the pod.
But we will do right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boy and the Heron.
Or do we want to do? Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Boy and the Heron.
Boy in the
Where
Heron.
is it at?
Like in terms of an
Is it an honorable mention? Is it in the top?
it's on my list for
Or
sure.
it's-
It's up there
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Not even a question. That was amazing.
Lead us off. Where is it?
Hold on, I haven't actually. I was waiting for you guys to get to the list part. I haven't actually finalized anything. Shit.
I'll talk about it then.
Oh.
Because it's an honorable mention for me.
Yeah,
Sorry to disappoint.
No, go for it. I don't
it's
care.
an honorable mention.
It'll always be an honorable mention.
To be fair, we watched a lot more movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, yeah, my list
Is Ted
I watched
like
I
7
watched-
movies?
25 movies this year.
Oh yeah, I didn't even bother
Like,
counting.
and that's just
probably a
movies
lot.
that I had never seen before. I'd watched 25.
Yeah, exactly.
So I
20,
watched
21,
a
22, 23, 24,
lot
25,
of
26,
movies.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32,
And that's not
33, 34,
including stuff I
35,
rewatched,
36,
yeah.
37, 30,
I say,
I tried to watch a movie a week. Was my goal this year.
39.
It's pretty impressive.
wow,
I almost said 40.
proud of you. Do you want
I
to watch
still
something
have
really
time.
fast? You got time. It's
Yeah.
not the end of the year.
You can get 11. You can get 13 more. 13 more by
Yeah.
next Saturday.
Yeah, doable.
So in my opinion, honorable mention for me. Honestly, the runtime was the biggest point against this film.
Too long for you?
Too long for me, and ended like
That's what I was talking.
I think we made this point
I
after
think
we saw
all
it.
4 of us were talking about it in the car ride home.
Yeah, where it
Oh, I
was
guess
like-
you weren't with us, but
No, yeah, I
James
wasn't
and
there.
Sarah were talking about it on the
It's-
car ride home.
you could tell that like he was just like, "Up, I don't have any more ideas."
Yeah,
Yeah,
Movie's
it
over.
just kind of end.
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Because-
only. It really is the only thing I have a problem with this movie.
I mean, yeah, I will still say that. I mean, I have my own personal favorite Hayao Miyazaki films,
Which is
Howl's Moving Castle,
okay.
As it should be.
I've only ever seen Spirited Away, so.
which is
Go watch Howl's
also
Moving
worth
Castle.
it. It's up there.
Houses.
But oh, I'm sorry. Did you have another?
No, I was waiting
I
for
was
you
gonna
to
say,
talk.
well, like in comparison to Spirited Away, for me there was just never like there needed to be a moment where I felt like happy or like uplifted.
Honestly,
Because Spirited Away, you know, the ending happens and she's going home, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa. I told James that's one of the most top 10 visceral
Yeah.
feelings I've ever had was the ending of Spirited Away.
there is in a lot of his films, almost all of them, especially his early ones, a moment that feels like it's not a climax, but it's more like a culmination
Yeah. Yeah.
of everything that
Yeah.
that like all the emotions in the films. I just didn't get that out of Boy and the Heron personally.
Because I felt like Spirited Away, I'll just be straight up, the first hour and a half, I was like, what the f am I watching?
Yeah, that tracks.
And then the last 30 minutes happened, I think, when she gets on the train and it just kind of like sits there, and then you're like, what is going on? And then that whole ending with the overlord or like the hotel manager. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. James.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's the only problem I had with it.
I would say conversely, while I do believe I'm totally agreeing with you guys, where it just ends. As somebody with a step parent, I felt that connection, that whole story that he's trying to tell,
Yeah,
hit
absolutely.
really hard.
Yeah. I think it's based on his actual upbringing, no?
That I don't know
Is it
about.
like
I haven't looked into any,
Semi-
I'll look into it.
yeah.
Anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
So like the whole story of him being like, you know, I don't want this person in my life, you know, it's annoying, etc. and stuff. Transitioning to, you know, where I realize I probably shouldn't be talking too many spoilers. But you know, transitioning to the ending, it's just like having literally gone through that, I totally get it, and I was like, it hit pretty hard for me.
No, that makes
Yeah.
sense because I even watching it, I could tell that it was like I was having to put myself in the shoes as opposed to like I had to sympathize with him. I didn't really
Yeah.
relate to that.
I imagine it's a lot of the Everything Everywhere All at Once effect, where like,
Yeah.
Matt and I walked out of that theater bawling our eyes out because it hit us where it hurts, and you guys
Yeah.
are like, that was a movie.
Yeah, it was a fantastic movie.
I didn't
love
know.
it.
It's a
But-
beautiful movie.
It's
but, like,
definitely
that-
themes that
That theme
are not
is
in my
a
life.
Very, very touching theme.
Um,
It's, I mean, it hit a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I thought it was fantastic. Not better than Howl's Moving Castle, but that's impossible. Go watch Howl's Moving Castle. It's his best.
No,
it's his best work.
I wanted to do like a pod on, which we still can.
Yeah, we
but
still
I just
can,
need to
yeah.
watch
All of them.
I would
so
just go
many.
rewatch them. Honestly, it's been a long time.
No, yeah.
Truth be told,
I do want to though, because I mean, Spirited Away moved me in a way that I had not been moved by movies since.
Yeah, pretty much everything they've done is it's gonna hit you. where it
Anything
hurts.
from Ghibli too,
Why are
because
the Japanese so fucking good and wholesome?
they don't have any label.
Specifically Ghibli.
Oh, I mean,
It's
yeah,
just
I was
their
gonna
style.
say- I was gonna say, yeah. I was like, maybe.
Generalize.
I was like, I can list several anime that are not wholesome.
well,
that's anime.
This is animated movie. It's the same. It's the same genre.
Fair enough. I don't know. I look at anime movies and anime TV. Two totally different.
I mean, it's the
Well,
same
they all look
difference.
the same to you.
No, no. I look at them separately.
It is effectively the same difference between live action films and live action TV shows. Like, you know,
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I'm
West.
saying.
Yeah.
I would.
I know, yeah.
I don't put Succession.
You guys
unless-
are agreeing with each other. Why are you fighting?
Because I like to argue with Isaac.
Connor likes to talk.
Listen, the black hole scene.
By the way, shut up. Strike 3, you're done.
Anyway,
By the
what were you
way,
saying?
it still gets an A from me. This movie.
I'd
as it
give it
should.
like a B, personally. It's just total.
You guys are going to see James on the next podcast. I'm gonna beat
Hey, it is what it is.
What would you give it?
probably like an A plus. I wouldn't give it an S tier. Just because like there are definitely some points where I'm like, this isn't as interesting as it should be. But it's
Animation
definitely
was really well done though. That first scene.
That's a given.
Oh yeah, dude.
Have you seen Disney?
Well, no, I meant
It's not
like
always a given.
no,
No,
it's a
I
given
had
with,
a-
with Studio Ghibli movies.
Specifically, shout out. I had his name written down somewhere. I believe I may not have, but no, that the scene where the hospital is on fire.
Yeah.
That animator whose name I completely forgot,
That
but
was
he has
crazy.
worked with him before. Like I recognized his work. Like specifically, he does everything in that style. He also did. If you've watched the Gear 6 stuff for One Piece, he did those too. That guy's been on a tear recently. Completely
that's
forgot his
crazy.
name.
Yeah, those
I'm gonna have
shots
to look it up.
The
But yeah,
amount of I don't know. I can't even
And-
comprehend the amount of
and-
talent one must possess.
it's like it's one guy.
Yeah.
And Miyazaki is famous for having like
No help, right?
no, not just no help, but like no other artistic expression in his movies
Yeah.
other than his own. It's like Hideki Anno and like this other guy, and like those are the only two animators who have ever had unique style in his film.
It says something when a billion-dollar conglomerate can't put together a decent animated movie for like 6 years now, and there's literally just one man that just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got one more in
Yeah,
me.
he keeps going like, fine, I'm coming out of retirement one
Yeah.
more time.
Shinya Ohira.
By
That's
the
his
way,
name.
do we think it's his last one?
No.
No, he's alive, isn't he? Until I see that he's dropped
I
dead,
will never.
I will expect
I will
another
never
one.
believe any filmmaker that's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll
Dude,
believe an actor. I won't believe a
Miyazaki,
filmmaker.
he's gonna like release like 5 more films like posthumously.
Right, yeah. So
like-
ideas that they're
Yeah.
gonna find in his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll do the Mac Miller
He's not
thing where
even
it's
done.
like 5 different albums come out.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, what are we doing, guys? We're just butchering his name.
All
And
right.
then 40, 50 years from now, somebody's gonna break into his tomb and rip another volume out of his cold broken
Oh, his
hand.
hand.
All right,
Yeah.
moving on. Any other
So-
honorable mentions you want to mention?
For things that so that's all the films that we watched this year together, or
Correct,
at least
that
for the
came out.
podcast.
Correct.
Yeah. Now that we've just reviewed Boy and the Heron. So if we're including things that we didn't review for the podcast, or things that didn't come out this year,
Just watched it on
just on our own in general, I have quite a few.
Of course.
By the way, we add the caveat for rewatches. It has to have been at least like I think it's like 6 or 7 years. It has to have
Yeah.
been a while since we.
Either watching for the first time or
So like I won't have Social Network. I won't have The Dark Knight. I won't have Interstellar.
yeah, I won't have what's it called? The Star Wars prequels. All of those are fantastic.
I mean, jokes on you. It's been like 6 years since I watched those, so I can put that on my list.
Dude, watching them back to back to back in one sitting was like peak Star Wars experience. It is
It
such
hits
it's the
different, don't
best
it?
way
Yeah.
to do it. It is the best. It is.
It hits.
I might have to do it.
I will never
It's
do
great.
it another way
I'm gonna
again.
have a whole week off. I might have to do it.
Oh,
A whole week to watch them in one day.
That's what I'm saying. Though.
Yeah.
Like I just one day out of the 8, just pick
well,
a day.
do 2
Each
days.
one.
Do
Yeah.
the
Prequels, original trilogy, and then
no,
skip the
just
sequels.
Just 2 days. Just 2
I'll
days.
stop at Rogue One.
Day 3, all of the Clone Wars.
Just the entire series.
Yeah. You would need like 3 monitors to finish that like in one day. Anyway, yes, absolutely. Some films I watched this year.
Honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. So I Want to give a shout out to a film that came out last year. It was a Korean film called Decision to Leave, directed by Park Chan-wook, who also did Old Boy, which is a fantastic Korean action
we're
film.
gonna cook when James mentions some obscure Korean film.
But just obscure in general. Yeah.
It got a lot of buzz last year. Park Chan-wook is not an
Sure.
obscure director,
Sure,
trust
sure,
me. I just want to give a shout out to it because his approach to cinematography is like cutting edge compared to literally where anyone else is in the world. Like anyone, I've made this complaint before that films are scenes, not shots.
Yeah.
You can't take an individual frame and say, "Oh, good cinematography." If you take an entire like scene, just like blows everything out of the water, in my opinion. The use of focus in Decision to Leave is like some scenes I'm almost like, how did they do this? Yeah. It's crazy where it's like there's one famous scene I've seen online a whole lot get reposted where they're sitting across from each other with a mirror and he will be in focus, but her reflection will be in focus. But then it will change in the same scene where she will be in focus and his reflection will be in focus. Like, it's like...
Sounds like some mind-bending shit.
I know. What kind of split diopter do you have to get a hold of to do something like that? I have no idea. But
Right, yeah. God.
just in terms of like one of the best looking movies I saw this year, Decision to Leave is absolutely going to be up there. I still put it on my honorable mentions because it came out last year, so it's pretty recent. So it feels kind of disrespectful to say a film from last year is in my top 10. But nevertheless, that would be the first one I want to mention.
No, I don't have any of those. Okay. Oh, I do have one of those, actually.
What you got?
All right, so keeping in the Jonathan Majors theme, I have Devotion,
Okay.
which watching it made me realize that he is the biggest dum-dum in the whole world. Because there was a 2-month period where he was in Creed 3, Devotion, in some kind of order, and then also Ant-Man. And then Loki, obviously, he was the big bad in Loki. And it was like, dude, we had something here where you were going to be the next, like, Brad Pitt. You were going to be an icon in
He could have been a contender.
Could have been a contender. He could have been a contender, but unfortunately he couldn't have. Yeah, I mean, the only reason it's not in my top 10 is because it's not really, like, it's a war movie. It's, quite frankly, not a good war movie.
I mean, between this and Top Gun Maverick, do you think Glenn Powell could take his place as the next guy?
Maybe if he stops, hooking up with Sydney Sweeney behind his girlfriend's back. Could probably be. I mean, who could blame him, right? I mean, come on.
I'm not picking up that loaded note. I'm gonna step right around that.
I'm not picking up what you're putting down.
But the reason I liked it I really liked it was because just the two, both Glenn Powell and Jonathan Majors, are really good in this movie. It's an era. It's a war that we don't really talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never known the story of the guy. I think he was the first, or one of the first. It's weird because he's not the first black person to win the Medal of Honor, but he's the first one to be recognized as black because the first guy who actually won the medal, the first black guy who won the Medal of Honor, lied and said he was white.
Interesting.
To the recruiters.
Based.
Yeah. So he's like, it wasn't until I think later that they found out, oh wait, shit, this guy was actually black. So it's like
Interesting.
It's a weird thing about history. Yeah. Shout out to
The things you could do before smartphones and the internet.
really dumb, but yeah, decent movie.
Fair enough. You got one you want to mention?
Honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Not particularly. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I'd say Lone Survivor. Actually, not
Lone Survivor.
Lone Survivor.
That was
The one you didn't like?
I enjoyed it. Just because I mean, like that was one of the few things that you guys had me watch that isn't gonna be on my list. That I was like, yeah, it deserves to be mentioned.
Should give him Friday Night Lights.
You've said that during that episode.
The movie.
You can be on the Peter Berg podcast. You just can't say anything. You just won't have a mic.
Can I just sit here and just like stare hard at the camera and
We'll
just like
still
bounce?
show you all the movies though.
You get episode opens up and you guys sitting there and I'm just like duct taped to the
Yeah.
chair, just like struggling.
Yeah. With the otter in your place still. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably of the stuff we didn't mention though.
I mean, for somebody who I think doesn't really like war movies or violent movies, I mean, I think Lone Survivor is definitely a good.
It's a good
introduction
film.
to that.
I harped on it
It's good.
partially to make James and Isaac mad at me.
Yeah.
But it was a good
Mission
film.
accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Someone get him the banner.
Can I just wear a devil costume from now? But yeah, no, that's probably all I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else we've watched for the pod is on
James, any other honorable mentions?
I got 3 in rapid succession I want to mention real quick. I watched, these are very, very old movies that I watched each of them for the first time. First one, I've already mentioned on this podcast, was Amadeus. I think because I mentioned it during the Napoleon podcast as just a better...
The way to do a biography.
Yeah, the way to do a biography of that era.
Yeah.
Just a phenomenal historical fiction about Mozart. And not as historically accurate, although it has dictated the story of Mozart's life and his relationship to
Which I think
Salieri.
is also what we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to look at this and think this is Napoleon.
And where does that, artistic integrity kind of come into play with being truthful to history or telling a good story?
Yeah.
Amadeus just wants to tell a good story. Absolutely gets it across. Completely ruins Salieri's reputation and legacy from then on. But nevertheless, that's it's the Mozart movie. So if you like classical music, watch Amadeus. Definitely fantastic.
What a James statement.
Daft Punk movie win?
Continue.
Interstellar 555, they already did one. It's animated.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
the Discovery album.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Continue. Started to go into yourselves.
next one I watched was Ron, Akira Kurosawa. It is
Ron? R-O-N?
R-A-N.
Oh, R-A-N. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
that's at least how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah.
It means chaos in Japanese. It is King Lear, but samurais.
God, you have me.
So what are we watching now, Isaac?
You have me.
You had me at Japanese.
You have me at Kurosawa.
It is a long film, but it is his magnum opus. Like, this is the film that, like, when people think of Kurosawa's legacy, it's going to be Ron. And this is a guy who influenced every aspect of filmmaking. And Ron is the culmination of all that coming together. From his directing, cinematography, editing, most importantly, acting, music, every set design. They built the castle and then they burnt it down.
That's pretty sick.
He pulled a Nolan.
Yeah, he
pretty
pulled a
badass.
Nolan. So definitely one of those, required viewings for film fans and film history. And then I watched The Deer Hunter, which I didn't mention it during the war movie podcast, even though it's a Vietnam one. But it's not much of a war movie. It's more of the effects of war.
Okay.
It's Robert De Niro and what's his name? The guy everybody does impressions of. He was
Hey,
in
I'm
Pulp
walking
Fiction.
here.
Yeah,
It's Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. Those two.
It's just like that could be
Cazale.
Yep, John Cazale and Meryl Streep.
Statistically, the
The
GOAT.
best actor of all time, John Cazale.
Did we tell you that? John Cazale, Fredo? The guy who plays
Yeah,
Fredo?
yeah, we talked about.
yeah.
I think we talked about during
He's
the
in
Cup
8 movies and 7 of them are Best Picture
Yeah,
nominees.
statistically the best of all time.
Go with the sauce for real.
Seriously, The Deer Hunter is definitely a very, how would I describe it? It's a bit of a one of those where it kind of leaves you with that pit in your stomach afterwards, where you're kind of like, I feel like I just like, what did I just watch? But also like you're reminded of your own humanity afterwards in a very existential way. Some of the like, I mean, it's from the 70s, I think, so it's it doesn't hold up compared to like The Godfather, I
78.
think. 78?
Yeah.
So late in that era. But it's definitely like kind of the last of the new Hollywood kind of era, for sure, where directors really just had the ability to just, carte blanche, do what they wanted. So it's a long film, very personal story about Vietnam, which like there's only 2 Vietnamese like scenes in Vietnam, and everybody knows the Russian roulette scene anyway from this film. So it's like everything else was just new to me. The whole like small town America personal, their friendship was just really like I didn't relate to it, but it's still like no.
No,
What I
it's
meant
good.
was
No,
that
it's
like
good, yeah.
it's I mean it's literally a time period that I didn't grow
No,
up
yeah, of
in,
course,
you
yeah.
know. So
It's just a funny admission. Just the way you said it was just like it's like wow, that's great. I didn't feel it.
no, I mean it's a part of American history that I didn't grow up in. I don't relate to it. I can only take them at their word for it.
Yeah.
But the way it's represented was still really like just emotionally powerful in my
Best
opinion.
Robert De Niro performance.
It was one of my favorites I've ever seen from him.
Yeah?
Certainly, outside of Godfather Part 2.
Peak De Niro.
He definitely peaked
Before he
in there.
became De Niro TM.
Yeah, for sure. So those are really, out of all 39 movies I watched this year,
Christ, what a number.
those are the three that I probably would say are the biggest honorable mentions. They're older, so they're not going to go in my top 10. And then my top 10 is really only like a top 3 anyway. So what can you do? Yeah. That's all. That's what I got for honorable mentions. What
I'm
you got?
gonna go into depth about this one because I think we can all talk about this one, and then I'll do like rapid fire for the rest.
Mm-hmm.
The new Hunger Games is like slaps.
Does it?
From what I've heard.
it's so good.
From what I've heard,
That's
so
wild,
good.
considering the book sucked.
I admit I'm not like the hugest Hunger Games fan. I like the idea of it. The books, the first 2 books are great. The third one, I don't know what the hell happened. Same way with the same way with the movies, where I'm like the first 2 movies pretty good. The third one, and the fourth one, what the hell happened?
It's really what happens with a lot of those books.
So
in
like
that
I think
year.
it definitely left a sour taste, at least in my mouth. It didn't end neatly the way like other YA fiction did. But this is a movie.
I've heard very good
It
things
does
about
some
it.
things. It is.
I gotta
like,
watch that, man.
Now, is it just like emotional, or is it like creatively invented?
I mean, it's emotionally just the movie itself. The acting is like really good, surprisingly, for a YA movie, because for every Jennifer Lawrence,
There it
we
is.
get like. Sorry,
Just like learn how to speak.
I wanted to say the character's name, but
for
I
every
can't.
Jennifer Lawrence, we get a Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, or like a Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah. Which whatever. But yeah, it's like really well acted.
She's a good
It's-
actor.
It's there's things about the world. It's funny at times. And I mean, I'd hate to say this, but like it says a lot about our society.
Bottom text.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I got you, homie.
But yeah, there
Make
are
sure
a lot
bass
of
boost
themes
that.
and stuff that I think do
Resonate.
which is part of the whole. I think a little
Point of Hunger Games.
the main series in this book is like we're making the thing about when you make a theme about current times is you either set it super far in the future or super far in the past, which is why fantasy and sci-fi are like based.
Yeah.
And I think this movie does it. It's also cool just to see the world and like pre
Hunger Games, basically.
like because it's the 10th Hunger Games, not the 74th and 75th. So
Yeah.
it's like
It's all fresh.
very rudimentary. I mean, there are characters in the movie, specifically the main guy, Coriolanus, who like
Snow.
lived through the war that starts everything and like why there's so much discontent in that nation. I don't know. I just thought it was really fascinating. I was very
Yeah.
surprised. I went into it because I had family that was like, "We're gonna go watch it. Do you want to come with?" And I was like, "It's Thanksgiving. Why not?
Screw it.
We're all together." I didn't buy a ticket. My aunt did. Shout out.
Watch anything I'm not paying for.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's exactly my mind point. It's like if you're buying it, yeah, hell yeah, I'll go. But yeah, I was like pleasant. I was blown away. I was like, this is an A+ movie, and it's.
Wow,
I'm
cool.
very impressed.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
if you like the Hunger Games, if you like the Hunger Games, you already went to go watch this movie.
Yeah, most likely.
Well, I mean, I love the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I did not go watch this movie because the book was bad. The book was really bad.
Okay, what didn't you like about the book?
It was just paced horribly. It was just boring, and I mean, like, it just. I could not get
Name a
behind
plot
the
point you didn't
characters.
like.
That's the thing is that I read it like a year and a half ago. I don't
Okay.
remember shit.
I was gonna
Fair
say,
enough.
there's,
I remember putting it down and being like, "Wow, that was a waste of my time."
there's definite pacing issues, but I think a lot of them come for the back half. I'll say that. So I don't want to spoil things too much, but
Yeah, because I don't remember anything. I just remember the feelings of just like, ugh.
once the games end was when I started to get to that stage of like, okay, what are we doing? This is going too long.
I see.
But
Okay.
But yeah,
yeah, everything leading up to the games I was
Nice.
very
I might have to
top-notch.
check this out then.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not a big Hunger Games fan personally.
Sure.
I've read the first book and that's it. I've seen the first movie. That's
The first movie's really
You've gotten the best ones. You could-
Yeah.
the first movie's really solid.
It absolutely
Much
is.
like every young adult series that came out around that time. First one's the best, and then it just
Everything
slowly
else, yeah.
fades out.
Yeah, the publishing house was like, all right, we need 4 more of these.
Why?
yeah.
I
So-
wrapped up.
Yeah, that's the one I think I wanted to highlight the most. Just some quick lists. I've seen The Graduate, pretty good movie. Can understand why people liked it at the time. Doesn't hold up very well nowadays.
Understandable.
Specifically the content.
Yeah. The romance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
Teacher student.
it's a teacher student thing. Well, it's
Big.
more like a neighbor student.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's in college though, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he starts sleeping with the daughter. So it's weird. It's
Okay,
a
well,
weird.
maybe-
it's a weird thing.
I should have asked for the people's ages on
It's
this
not
before
as
I said
spicy.
these.
It's not as spicy as you think.
I didn't expect it to be spicy.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
making the
But yeah, it
obvious
was a
joke.
good movie. Great acting.
Mhm.
Good story. Can see why people liked it. I watched the OG Blade Runner.
For the
See
first
why
time.
people were captivated by it. Yeah, first time.
Nice.
Can see why people
With the good
captivated by it.
ending, where he holds up the thing and then it just cuts.
Was it when he's in his room? Is he in his room?
So the original Blade Runner, theatrically,
Yeah.
Ridley Scott was not allowed to have his cut.
Right.
They released one where he and the woman get away in the forest.
I didn't see
They
that
drive
one.
away.
No, I watched.
In
yeah.
Ridley Scott's original version, he holds up the unicorn, he turns around, and then it cuts.
I think I saw that one.
That's the good ending.
Pretty good.
Haven't seen that film.
Very good.
Yeah. No, I
Very
need to.
good.
I just
Old school
very good.
cyberpunk. Definitely.
Which is why I
And
need
it's
to watch it.
definitely a statement of the new Hollywood. Probably a little later than, but like a director still having creative talent to make do with like a $20,000 props budget.
Yeah,
and it's like we need you to build L.A. 2019 L.A.
Yeah.
and it's 1982. Figure it out, and it's like, all right, I have $5. Let's go buy a jacket.
Go buy some miniatures.
Go send my guy to Goodwill. So yeah, I really liked it. Some
Definitely
other ones.
one of my
I think
favorites.
I've talked about these on the pod. Mean Girls, obviously, one of the most influential coming of age movies of all time. Still very funny. Still funny to me.
Are you gonna go see the musical one?
Now that I know it's a musical, no. It was
Man.
just funny because we were
Yeah, he
watching.
sent me-
We were watching. What were we watching?
I thought it was a TikTok. I thought you sent me a TikTok.
No,
about
no,
it.
no. We were in theaters. We were in a theater, and I leaned over to you, and I was like, "Do you?"
That
It
was
Boy
it
and the
was-
Heron.
Yeah, Boy and the Heron.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was where we saw the trailer for
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I just remember you leaning over.
Because I
there.
remember I asked my cousin one time when we went to watch Hunger Games. Actually, I was like, "Have you seen the first one?" So I remember doing the same thing with you.
Yeah.
And I was,
So what I'm hearing is I got homework. Gotta watch
the
it.
first Mean Girls. I mean, it's a good
First
movie.
Mean Girls
It's
is a good
very
movie.
No, yeah.
Very good movie. Anyways, Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the
comedies.
Dead.
First time I ever seen it.
Amazing film.
I've seen
Nice.
bits
Amazing
and pieces
film.
of it, and
Yeah.
then I realized I haven't seen the actual whole thing all the way through. Edgar Wright is
It's a
the king
part of a trilogy.
physical comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It is, and they're all good films.
They're all good films.
You know, there's one of my honorable mentions. I forgot. I watched Rewatch World End this year.
Really? I've
Fantastic
been wanting to rewatch that one.
It's so
Yeah, I gotta
good. It
watch
still holds up. It's so funny. Anyway,
I
continue.
should rewatch
Yeah,
it.
between this and Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver, he's just the peak of
Inventive.
inventive comedy.
Directing,
Just,
yeah.
it's not just like crude jokes. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have Michael Cera jump out of a window, and then like Wallace is gonna. I fucking love that bit.
That is
That is
also
the best
such a
joke in
good
the entire film. In the
Yeah.
entire books, it's the best joke.
That thing cracks me up every time.
so
Like, I'll be scrolling on TikTok or YouTube, and
I
it
come
pops up.
across
I
it,
have
yeah.
to sit there and watch it. It's
Every
so
time.
funny.
It's Scott.
Yeah,
Did you
but
guys watch the animated show?
Not yet.
I watched an episode. I can't get into the animation.
Yeah,
It
the
just-
animation
it
itself.
looks just. It
Interesting.
It looks pretty.
Mhm.
It doesn't go pretty.
Okay,
It's very very janky,
interesting.
and I
It
don't.
looks just like the comics, doesn't it?
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it looks really good. I was really
Oh.
excited for it. It just I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I was
I couldn't.
going to watch it every weekend since it's come out because I was going to paint and I was going to put it on while I paint, and I have not painted because I kept getting sidetracked with other stuff.
There you go.
So it's on my list at some point, TM.
The Bourne trilogy we've talked about.
Yep.
Great
Love
action
them.
trilogy, mid 2000s. Love it.
Good meme.
And then
Good shaky
the
cam.
last one I'll shout out is a historical movie that I watched, rewatched for the first time in like a decade. Was Valkyrie, the Tom Cruise movie.
Interesting choice.
Operation Valkyrie.
Yeah.
I was in like a World War II Nazi kind of like
Yeah.
learning about the like anti
You can learn about
No, I know, but it's just
German
like
I
history.
didn't read my coffee like start.
it's just like what I know about Isaac and his like phases when he was like, I'm in a World War II Nazi. I was like,
No, I get into like phases where I'm like learning about different parts of history. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, just
and-
like I get caught up for like 2 weeks about like I want to read and digest everything about certain things. And for some
Hyperfixations.
reason,
Yeah.
that
That's all
2
it is.
weeks I was really into the Nazis and like how they were just able to just
right.
control.
take over the world
Yeah.
basically for like a good year.
Which is totally fair. It's just I have to laugh because most of the time when you
Yeah,
get into
no.
the- when
When
you get
I knew as soon as I said that sentence, I was like, I just canceled myself.
that and the way you get into binges is that you'll send me TikToks of being like, I am him, and then it's like whatever historical person you're learning
Were you
about.
thinking I was gonna send one of like
Joseph Goebbels.
Heinrich Himmler and be like, I'm him?
That's like, when you said that's my brain immediately jumped to was like the 3 weeks of Napoleon back to back
God.
to back to back.
I'll say this about Valkyrie. Better than I thought.
Yeah.
Wish Tom Cruise wasn't the lead actor. And I wish it went more. This should have been. This is my thing about historical dramas. They should just be miniseries.
Yeah.
Because I actually researched Project Valkyrie, and it is less of a we don't like Hitler because he's bad, and more of a we don't like Hitler because Hitler's going to have the Allies bomb us to death. We want to stop him. We're still going to kill the Jews.
But we want to stop
also,
Hitler.
yeah, we also want to be able to kill the Jews and stop the British from invading. So it's like, I wish it had gone more into that.
Missed the
Yeah.
Because the guy,
Tom
because,
Cruise
yeah,
wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want Tom Cruise. Is like,
Yeah.
it tried to paint these guys as like good Nazis. It's like, nah, they're still bad.
You need
Still
somebody
They
racist.
who's not
just
afraid.
didn't like Hitler.
If it was like Alexander Skarsgård, you would have gotten
Yeah.
a totally different film.
Yeah. So
I don't know why he's the first person that came
that's
to
the only
mind.
reason
I
it's
think
not in my
Dune
top 10.
probably.
Other than that, though, it's like a really, really good like conspiracy thriller.
It's been a long time since I
Really
have
impressed.
seen that.
That's the same thing for me. I saw it on HBO and I was like, I haven't seen this in a while. Let's see if it's still actually good.
My
It's like a solid
The-
A minus B plus.
only real memory of Valkyrie that really stands out is one of the few World War II films that showed the fighting in Africa.
Yes.
And that's like the most that I remember from
Weird
that
because
movie.
it's like I don't know, probably
People
the
don't really
most
talk about that
interesting to learn about.
Yeah, and Rommel is such an interesting, like, actual
Very,
figure in
I think James is going more Nazi.
World
level
II
than me.
history.
I'm just kidding.
No, like in terms
No,
of
yeah, he is a
I
very
mean, he's got the.
he's a very influential figure on terms of like
Americans don't even value
Tanks.
people like Douglas MacArthur. You know, like
Just teasing, James. Just
he's a very influential figure in
Yeah.
tank warfare.
racist person.
Some would say the goat. People are talking. Is the desert fox?
Yeah.
The goat.
is he?
No,
He's the only one with a nickname.
He's a desert fox.
All
All right, let's get into our top
our list.
best of the movies. Best of 23.
Hell yeah.
I've got 10.
I got like
We've
3.
talked about a couple.
Yeah, I've been dwelling over the list, and
Yeah.
the more we've talked, the less, like the shorter and shorter it's gotten. So I think I'm about 3. Yeah, I could probably eke out 5 if I want to be generous, but probably 3.
All right. Are we going
Who's gonna start?
top to bottom or bottom to top?
We'll go. Yeah, we'll start at the bottom.
Start at the bottom. So I think
Build suspense.
I'm kind of hesitant on really ranking these
Yeah,
because
just do
for
like a tier.
part 3, for not part 3, but my third pick is where I'm going to start is tied between Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer.
Nice.
I don't know why. I think I like Killers of the Flower Moon more as a
Yeah.
film, but every time I think back to Oppenheimer, I still remember being impressed by it and liking it a lot. But I think Killers of the Flower Moon has just had a greater impact on my memory in terms of its story.
I think it'll be one of those things that Killers of the Flower Moon has a bigger, like, cultural impact.
Yeah.
Or maybe not necessarily cultural in the way that I'm thinking, but like, it will affect people more.
Yeah.
But Oppenheimer affects more people.
This is the like There Will Be Blood, No
Country for Old
Old
Men.
Men,
Yeah, exactly.
kind of
Exactly.
dilemma.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 2 movies, basically the exact same,
Yeah.
but they fulfill completely different functions emotionally, in my opinion. So
And
that's
it's
why
just-
they're tied for me.
I mean, those movies are just classic Hollywood
Yeah,
filmmaking. Like,
it's just good
just
filmmaking.
two really, really good auteurs.
Yeah.
Just at their absolute peak of powers. One of them who is, I mean, both of them you could argue reinventing themselves for these movies, and it's
Definitely Martin
it's
Scorsese.
really interesting.
Yeah.
It's it'll be interesting to study these movies in like 6 years.
Yeah.
These would be Killers of the Flower Moon. I think will be will go into retrospect like a decade from now for sure, in my opinion. So that's going to be just where I start. Those two are tied for my third spot.
Yeah, good choices. I don't disagree.
You don't disagree? Am I doing my whole list, or are we going back and forth?
Because we all have different lengths, right? So I mean, like eventually
Yeah.
it'll just be Isaac monologuing about his back half.
All right. My number 2 pick.
Well, to be fair, 5 of the movies that are in my top 10 we've already talked about. So
True, but you know.
yeah,
Kind of torn on how I feel about this. It's Barbie. No. Number 2 pick, favorite movie I've seen this year? Godzilla -1.
nice.
I was
You
so
saw it
sad that
yesterday.
you guys
I saw it yesterday.
I didn't go with you. I should have
so
gone.
sad.
I should have just gotten over my sickness and gone. Don't spoil anything.
Please don't.
That's all
I've heard nothing but good things. When you were like, you want to watch it? And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so down. And you're like,
You know, the
oh.
first time I've heard about an indie movie to this degree is Parasite, which is why I'm so freaking
Yeah.
excited to go watch this movie. Where literally there are no bad words about Parasite. And there's no bad words about this movie.
When I get back, Isaac, you want to have a little date?
I think I'm just gonna go tomorrow.
Oh, well, okay.
You're gonna be gone a week. I know.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
go.
waiting a week to watch it.
I'll bug that.
I was supposed to go yesterday, but I felt sick.
I really want to talk about this film, but
save
it is
Just give us like 2 sentences. Don't spoil anything specific. Just give us 2 sentences.
Give us 2 adverbs.
So what I've heard, I'll just say what I've heard.
okay.
Is if you take away Godzilla, it's still a go-tier movie.
Okay, here's the thing.
Okay. Cool.
Now we started.
So
That's just what I read. That's just what I read.
me
I don't know if it's
personally-
true or not.
of all the Godzilla movies I have seen,
By the way, do we like Godzilla?
I do.
Who doesn't like Godzilla?
Okay, good answers. Good answers.
I like the Godzilla movies that lean more towards using him for social commentary than towards the MonsterVerse. I haven't even bothered watching the MonsterVerse stuff. I don't care for that whatsoever, personally. The original
You're missing out.
Shin
I'll just say that
Godzilla.
right now. You're missing out.
I know I'm probably missing.
Other than the Bryan Cranston one, which is arguably the worst of the monsters,
Which I actually
every
liked.
other movie that's come out is a banger.
Here's the thing, though. I'm not a fan of Godzilla because I don't really go for those. I just like Godzilla being used in that way.
Sure.
Now,
That's fair.
That's totally cool.
it's wrong, but it's fair.
James just gaslit us just to prove his point.
I literally, James, you have no idea. I bit my tongue so hard to not add that quip because I was like, I'm trying to let him have his moment. I shouldn't try to make like a joke about it.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious. That's so good.
Some people have been talking about Godzilla -1 basically replacing the original Godzilla film, the first one.
Really?
Godzilla 1.
Wow,
Because
okay.
it's post-World War II Japan,
Right.
and Godzilla is the bad guy. He's not teaming up with anybody. He's not
Just how
fighting
it should
against.
be.
He's not
Yeah.
saving the day. He's the bad guy.
Big old monster.
The first one is more about the collective damage that Japan suffered. This one is more about an individual character study. To that extent, thematically, I don't think it replaces the original one. And it's also, honestly, the first one is just a good movie, regardless of how
It's awesome.
dated it is. It still holds
Yeah.
up.
It's super cool.
And then Shin Godzilla is the other one I would throw in, which was actually directed by Hideki Anno, interestingly enough, who did Evangelion, if you don't recognize that name.
You know I don't.
Which is, that one
never
is
finished
like
Evangelion.
a modern day Godzilla film, but it's more about the Fukushima nuclear disaster. That's really what that one is dramatizing. But Godzilla -1 is just like, there were moments in it where it was like when I talked about like how Miyazaki, where it's like everything is culminating into one like
Moment.
real moment.
Yeah.
That's like the movie.
Nice.
Where
I
like
like it.
there was, and I had to go to the bathroom at one point, so I can't say for the whole film, but like the whole film was
that.
like
It's always the worst, yeah.
Every
So I feel about
character,
FNAF.
every single character,
God, that came out this year.
every single moment with Godzilla. I think I don't know if you guys watch Mark Kermode, who's another film reviewer, but when he was like, you're not even anticipating Godzilla coming back because everything else is so good and worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think a lot of the complaints with other Godzilla films is it's like, I just want to see him stomp stuff.
Yeah.
But there were some scenes in this where I was just like, this is like, even if it wasn't Godzilla, I would be like, this is just like why I go to films and see movies. Just like fantastic on all fronts, in my opinion.
Uh-oh.
And it just died.
Okay, continue talking.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do a quick swap of our camera batteries.
This episode has been brought to you by...
We'll do an ad read for you. But no, honestly, highly recommend Godzilla -1. Like, I'm not going to say anything more.
Okay. Cool.
And I went in with that expectation that it would be like a good movie. And I try not to do that. I try not to have expectations about that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is this going to be my favorite movie of the year? And then I've just all day long, I've been like, this is probably above Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon.
I'm so sad that I missed out on this. Why did I have to raid last night?
I don't know why you do that to yourself. You just eliminate.
Yeah, I don't know why you
6
have
hours a
friends, Connor. But no,
I'm just teasing. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I was like, well, it was the fact that you said it and then James answered it without me having to open my mouth.
we will probably, too much time will pass for us to probably review it on the podcast.
I'll still do a podcast.
We'll still do a podcast
we do
on it?
podcast reviews about the
Just say it.
Exorcist.
Too
That's
much
true.
time. Yeah, we've talked about anything.
I would recommend watching Shin Godzilla as well,
We'll
before
watch
or
it
after.
because I think it's going to be re-released in black and white.
Yeah,
Which
it
I will
will
not
be.
go watch that version. But
Yeah, I don't think
Coward.
it would really be
I
that
don't know.
worth
I've
watching.
never been a fan of black and white movies.
Yeah.
Like, the last one I watched, I think, was Logan, and I was like, "This is cool for like a shot or two."
Yeah.
But it.
I don't really get it
I think
myself
people just do it
personally.
for the Instagram reels.
Yeah. For the idea of being more cinematic,
All right,
in my
so
opinion.
Shin-
But no, Godzilla -1, that's my number 2
Godzilla
of the year.
-1.
Fair enough.
And then my number 1, of course, Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, it's good.
equally elicited the exact same emotions that Godzilla did of just excitement.
It's a beautiful, beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Can't
Fantastic
really
film,
say
yeah.
anything else about it.
It
You want
is,
to talk about the music? Because apparently we didn't talk about the
because
music.
apparently we didn't talk about the music.
Even though I shouted out the music.
Yeah, you did, but you were like, "Oh yeah, music was good," and I'm like, I mean, I guess it's James's time right now.
Dude, I gotta say, the music in Godzilla -1 is
Crazy.
like probably the best soundtrack I've heard.
You know,
this
now that
entire-
I've been
of every film
I've been doing
seen.
this pod more and more, and I've been focusing more on music because it's like we have to actually focus on all facets of
Yeah.
filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to notice a lot more. I'm really starting to notice the bad
Yeah.
scores.
Yeah.
There's a handful of moments in Godzilla -1 where the music playing is just like
Yeah.
ties it all together.
It's-
It's,
I mean, it's-
so great.
It's
It's
one
so
of those
good.
things where it's you don't notice it unless it's bad.
Yeah. Or you notice it because it's so freaking good, and you're like, I gotta find this
Yeah.
song
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
immediately afterwards.
Like mid scores, I'm like,
They're just there,
You
yeah.
just grab this from an MP3.
Yeah.
But like, if something's go tier, you're like,
Yeah.
I mean, I watched The Social Network. It's still my favorite soundtrack.
Mhm.
But
There's like 2 songs that really stand out.
yeah, but it's the themes they convey. That's
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's what makes them those 2 songs so
Yeah.
good. All right, that's literally my list.
Cool.
Cross the Spider-Verse,
My list.
Godzilla -1, and then tied for third, I would put Oppenheimer and Killers of the Flower Moon. Everything else would be an honorable mention for me.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Thank you. All right.
You want to go, Connor?
Sure.
Or do you
Starting-
need more time to think about?
No,
your
I got
list?
it. So starting from the bottom, number 5, I'd have to do D&D.
Yeah.
That was just, I mean, it captured me. It was incredible. I mean, we kind of talked about it. We talked about it on the episode where I just geeked out for an hour and a half.
You did that once we stopped recording.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I just continue talking about it. I've talked about it to a ton of people. There were a couple dates that I went on where it came up and I proceeded to monologue.
Yeah, I hope we get more of these. They don't necessarily have to be those characters, which I think we also talked about in the episode, but like just fun fantasy adventures.
Yeah,
Just give
just
us
just a good time. Just
Yeah.
let me have a good time.
give
Be
us those.
faithful and just let us have a good time.
Yeah, in and out, hour 45.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love it.
Good stuff. What was my fourth? I totally
Surprises,
just
surprises.
I should have written this down.
Surprised it's not number one.
No, of course. You know what number 1 is.
Godfather.
No, actually, Spider-Man.
That was gonna be Barbie. It's probably gonna be Barbie.
It's not Barbie.
piece of
No. I'm
Number
not gonna
4.
be. I'm just trying to remember what the hell number 4 was. I just spaced.
Okay, we'll go to number.
We'll go to number 3. I'll come back. I'll loop back around. I had 5. I totally just spaced number 4 as, and I can't think of it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Slipping back around to number 3. Godfather Part 2.
Nice.
Expected. Kind of up, I think.
Honestly, not much to say about that, really.
no.
Just,
Go watch the
I
episode.
don't think we can gush about that enough.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And then shocking nobody again at this table, number 2. Godfather Part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, go watch the episode.
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Go on.
It delivers.
Yeah, it does. It hits.
It's one of those movies that everybody hypes up, and you watch it, and you're like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
as good as that.
Yeah, you're like,
I
yeah,
heard.
this was.
Yeah.
People were like, it's the greatest movie of all time. You're like,
My life is a little bit different now. I'll be honest. It was a little bit different.
listen, man, I like Gangs of New York, but Gangs of New York is not the best movie of all time.
Yeah.
Then you what? And they're like, oh, Godfather's the best. Like, yeah, you're right.
And then the only thing that is on my list that I have watched multiple times this year, Spider-Verse.
Same for me, too. That was the only one I've seen
The
multiple.
only thing that I have rewatched. And I mean, as we've said, what else is there to say?
There's
about
nothing else.
except
It's
the
too-
music.
It's a good score. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, like, there's stuff that they
beautiful.
do that, like, the fact that Miguel O'Hara's theme is very similar to the Prowler's theme, and then the Prowler's theme, the new Prowler's theme, is very similar to, Spider-Man. There's a lot that they do with the soundtrack. That's
It's
really,
called songwriting.
I know.
Go into it. This is your number. This is your
I,
list. Go
I
into
know
it.
what it's called, James. A lot of people don't do it.
I mean, that goes back to my point, right? Where it's like it's so often overlooked, but when you actually nail it, it's like
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just like
makes a movie so much better.
it's. I mean, I don't know enough about terms to deep dive enough to do it justice.
Just
IMO.
use vibes.
Um,
That's what I do most of the time.
yeah, I
on
mean,
the spot
in
anyways.
terms of vibes, yeah. I mean, it's just like it's very difficult to write a sound, to make a sound
Yeah.
that can cause a person to feel just immediate terror in a situation where you shouldn't feel immediate terror. And the Miguel O'Hara like
Tritones.
yeah,
That's how you
like
do
that's how do you put a person, have him look really awesome and also have you completely unnerved at the same time? Like, that's incredible.
His massive butt.
Connor,
Yeah.
if you like sound and sound design, boy, have I got a movie for you.
Well, Isaac,
It's
that's why I
called
play.
Oppenheimer. It's this little budget. It's this little indie budget.
Well, as we went over, all I know about music comes from playing video games and video games.
I mean, Ludwig Göransson is.
Um,
we'll get into it.
But yeah, I mean, just like they just nail it. They
Yeah.
manage to blend so many tracks together to make something new at the same time as they're being able to pull pieces out. They'll just toss in parts of one character's theme just out of the blue really quick to make you just kind of like have this hitch. First movie did it. This one does it 15 times better. Like, it does everything else 15 times better. Yeah, I'm gonna go home and watch it again probably.
Yeah. No,
It's
they're.
just an amazing piece.
I can't wait till we get the third one in 5 years.
Yeah.
God, tell me about it. There's no way it's coming out next year. There's
What's-
zero way in hell it's
Guys,
coming
what's
out
coming out first? Invincible season 2, GTA 6, or Beyond the Spider-Verse? Leave a comment in the leave a comment.
Vote now on your
whichever one
phones.
you-
next year. Shout out to Hollow Knight Silk Song that's never coming out. 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's what is Hollywood doing to us?
They've hired Yandere Depp for everything. All right.
It's bad.
James banger joke of the podcast right there. If you don't know about Yandere Dev, look him up.
Don't.
That's a hell of a story.
That's a rabbit hole. All right.
All right,
Isaac.
All right, here we go.
Spotlight's on you.
So 11 and 10 are Exorcist and the Killer, which
I'm
we
glad to
talked-
see Exorcist on there.
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah. This is
Very
my
good.
honorable mentions.
Yeah, good movie.
Mhm.
Exorcist I would probably put closer in my honorable mentions, but I'm just gonna talk about it right now because I forgot to.
It's fair.
Number 9, a movie that James loves near and dear to his heart, No Country for Old Men.
It's good.
Yeah, I think it's the birth of the modern Western. Hopefully we get. What's up with the Western?
So one
We
of the
gotta bring it
films
back.
that I watched this year was Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood one, which I think is actually historically kind of the birth of the modern Western because it's like one of the big revival films.
Oh, it's when he's older, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's definitely a very it purposely subverts all the classic Western tropes, there's no hero who fights the bad guy.
Yeah.
The bad guy is the main character, and he's not even an anti-hero.
Yeah.
He just slaughters everyone. People who are supposed to gain their courage and help save the day completely pussy out and walk away from saving the day, and then die.
Country for Old Men.
So he won, both of them Best Picture winners as well too.
Yeah.
So maybe doing some of the westerns it's worth it.
There's just, the themes of No Country for Old Men of like, destiny versus, like nature versus nurture, like destiny or self-fulfilled prophecies.
Yeah, free will.
Stuff. Yeah, free will. More specifically is like
The coin got here the same way I did.
Yeah, just like.
If you have not seen No Country for
It's
Old Men,
really.
Why do you say
It's a 2 hour
I'm just
movie.
saying.
It's 2 hours.
All right, I'm back on
Yeah.
board.
That was my biggest fear of watching it. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be a long movie. And then I saw it on Max, and I was like, oh, 2 hours. I'm putting it on right now. It's such a good movie.
The Coen brothers
So provocative and thought provoking.
with they are fantastic directors, but there's something about them where every now and then they make a film
Because
where
it's so out of left field for them.
they I don't want to say they turn up to 11, but it's like they dial in.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's like a well-directed film. It's that you can't point to a single element that doesn't convey either the tone, the theme, the emotion. Everything comes across perfectly. Honestly, there are like elements of editing and cinematography that I can't talk about because it would be a legitimate spoiler to be like way that this character is lit or shown.
It is. Me and James often talk about like fundamental filmmaking, where it's just all facets of production are just clicking and on the same page, and like they're all like either good to great. Usually they're more great than they are good, and this is one of those movies where it's just extremely solid, solidly made. Like there's no really major flaws other than the content. If you don't like that stuff, I can't help you about westerns if you don't like westerns. But but even to that, I'm not really a big western fan myself, and like this and There Will Be Blood, which are funny enough are like going to be intertwined for the rest of their lives.
Because they're the exact same.
We could do a whole podcast on those two episodes, those two shows or movies, and like how they're connected more ways than they're not. But
seriously,
it's a really good movie.
It's also a good Cormac McCarthy adaptation.
You haven't read it though.
I have not, no. But you didn't like Blood Meridian, but he wrote No Country for Old Men.
That's the one that everybody points to, and it's like that in the road, right? Or
Yeah.
like the two the most easily digestible.
I think James just spoiled his Christmas gift for me.
Wait a minute. Might have a problem here.
What?
Talk about it later. All right,
We all bought each other the same Cormac McCarthy book again.
Oh no! Do you think I've done my shopping yet?
Fair enough.
We'll just rotate them. All right, number 8 is Threads, a movie that came out on the BBC,
I had not heard of
the
that.
British Broadcasting Channel.
I've heard of that.
Why'd you look at me? I know what it is.
Just had to make sure. It is a movie that details basically what happens if a nuclear strike were to hit London, and it details the.
Oh, this is an old film, is it?
Yes, it details. It's on. It is so provocative and so unsettling. You can only find it on YouTube. They aired it once,
Nice.
and
Cool.
that's it. The only you
have my
can't buy it.
interest.
I mean, I'm sure you can find like a shady
Yeah, 123 movies.
$5 DVD, but like the way I found it was I just YouTubed it. It is the most horrifying movie I have ever watched. Just like because the day goes along and you're just like, okay, where do I start? So it starts a couple hours before the strike.
Okay.
Theoretical strike. Okay.
And the way it sets up is I think it's this woman is going about her day, or it's just a group of people going about their day, and in the background you hear all these escalating tensions in the world, and like, because I mean this movie came out in the peak of the Cold War, and it's for me what was unsettling is like that is us. like, we go on Reddit, we
We're
go
them.
on YouTube, we go on Instagram, and we're like, oh cool, like Israel and Palestine are at war again. And then it's like, oh, we're sending 3 aircraft carriers into the Middle East. And it's like, yeah, we don't really care. It doesn't matter. And then like 5 hours later, they're getting nuked in the movie. I think something similar happens in that. But I think what was most horrifying was after the explosion, and the actual explosion itself was like just how out of nowhere it comes. Like they don't like. There is a literal scene where there are people at work in an office building, and then the next minute the office building's on fire, and that they're all dead. Yeah. It's like what the fuck? They had no warning, nothing. And then also seeing just the complete collapse of society, where, because I mean you have like the preventative measures we have when something catastrophic happens, like natural disasters or like anything else that are in place, like first aid, stuff like that, doesn't exist. Utilities do not exist. There's no means of communication that exist, when a nuclear warhead detonates above your city. So for me, it was really, really disturbing to see all just like the cascading effect that has on society, and like how in 50 years we're basically just back to being like feudal clans, and like
Return the monk.
Yeah, and like the deconstruction of the English language, because we know English, and we can teach it a generation ahead, and we can understand like things like grammar, syntax. Like why do we structure paragraphs the way we structure them and stuff like that. But it's the generation after where they can't speak English because they don't understand the fundamentals of English that we knew. And like, so like towards the end of the movie, they're literally just speaking in gibberish and like stuff like that. And then, the effects it has on the population of like, well, the ozone's gone, so everybody's blind. So therefore we don't grow up seeing people. So we're not as affectionate as we are nowadays. Like there's literally a scene where a mom dies at like 25, and a kid just is like calling out to her mom, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then she walks away or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that's so absurd to me. Just, I don't know. It was very unsettling, and it's a very provocative movie. And I don't recommend anybody watch it.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm saying. Adding it to the list.
I think it's really quick too. I think it's like an hour and a half, hour 45.
Now you really got me.
But yeah, it's an interesting movie just to see that, a nuclear war has more capabilities than just, destroying buildings. It's like
the
humanity as we know just would cease to exist as it is. And we would just go back to being monkeys. So yeah, it's very disturbing, very disturbing. So that's number 8. Number 7 was Across the Spider-Verse.
Nice.
number 7.
Yeah, wait till you get to the top 6. Number 6 is Conspiracy.
Yes, you've talked about this one
talked
very
about
often.
this movie very often. It is a movie about let me look it up real quick. So it's the conference
I feel like I can explain this. You've talked about it so often.
It's a movie that sets up, that is about the 1C conference, 1A conference, which is basically where all the top generals and all the top men of the Nazis met to discuss the final solution to the Jewish problem. And it is also one of the most horrifying movies I've ever heard, because allegedly there was a single transcript that survived, accidentally or not, that the writers wrote the screenplay and based it off of. And like a lot of words that are said are bar for bar, word for word, what was actually said at the conference. And you, I think, just start to realize how disgusting these people were. I don't want to spoil it because I think everybody should watch. It's one of those movies that I think every history teacher should show at some point, or like every human being should show, just to show how far gone people are. And like when we're like, oh, well, you want to take away my guns? You're a literal Nazi. And it's like, I don't think you understand the Nazis. Like, I think we have started to use that word so much to describe people that that we don't like, that like we're starting to lose sight of what Nazis were.
Sounds like something a Nazi would say, Isaac.
Anyways. But, yeah, and it's just really chilling. I mean, there's a scene where there's a character, specifically a character, I won't spoil too much, but he is very visibly... so the thing is all of them, except for 2 guys, don't know what is the meeting. So they all go and they're like, "What the hell are we talking about?" So when it's finally discussed, hey, we're gonna figure out what the hell to do with these Jews. A lot of them are like, "Oh yeah," but there's one guy who's like, "What? This is weird," and so you're thinking like, "Oh, this is a good Nazi." Like they do exist, right? Like you always read like, "Oh, only 10% of the people were Nazis or whatever." Like nobody actually believed in killing all the Jews. Mm-hmm. And then so they're going through the beating or whatever, and then. They call him out. They're like, "Oh, what are you, a Jew lover? Like, why are you so anti whatever we're talking about?" And he's like, "You think I like the Jews? No, I want to see them all killed. The thing is, you guys are treating them like idiots, and we need to start treating them like actual adults because, like," and he draws parallels to the way Americans treated the Indians, where he's like, "The Americans treated Indians like an idiot, and now look at the Indians. They're getting all this, like, that their words, not mine." And it's just like interesting way that Nazis thought about how to.
That was eugenics at that time. Yeah,
it was like
an American idea.
It's just really, it's really disturbing stuff.
Unironically, he got his ideas from the Americans.
Yep. And
no lie.
It's it's really well acted. Kenneth Branagh, Stanley Tucci.
Kenneth Branagh in anything will always give 100.
It's a lot of English actors, a lot of English stage actors, because it was written like a stage play. It's all in one location, and the director was like, "We have 4 cameras, we're just going." So a lot of these guys, the takes were like long takes, like pages long takes.
Nice.
So you could see that in the production of the movie. I think it's a really well done movie. It's again very disturbing to see like people like this existed, and I think it's a good reminder of how far we can truly go.
Yeah. Not to totally cut into your list, but one of the films I watched this year was called Come and See, which is another one that gets on the list of most disturbing movies of all time. This one is about a child soldier in Belarus, I think, who joins a paramilitary force as they fight against the Nazis. But it's from a kid's perspective, and they don't hold back showing a lot of the Nazi atrocities they committed against these villages.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah.
Now, what made the film disturbing was the fact that nobody told me what was disturbing was the sound design in this film. And I watched it with headphones in. Oh, no. And don't do that.
Sounds rough.
Disorienting, nauseating. It was one of the most intense things I've ever heard.
Yikes.
The film itself is honestly kind of par for the course for war movies, honestly. Not say that it's like bad, but if you're going into a film about Nazi atrocities, expect to see atrocities. I don't know what you're doing here.
Right.
Yeah. But just to also add so we have the third disturbing movie here. This one specifically for sound. If you ever want to experience something like that, watch Come and See, because with headphones in, that was probably one of the craziest things I've ever had to sit through.
So yeah, that marked the end of my 2-week Nazi Germany research.
Yeah, Come and See did that for me too, where I was like World War II is scary. I don't know if I want to get into the history of this.
Truly, they were bad people.
Yeah,
sure were.
Hot take.
Hot take.
The Nazis were bad. It's like my favorite. That's my favorite Band of Brothers part where they're in the back of the truck and he's reading the newspaper. He's like, "What are you reading?" He's like, "Reading about why we're fighting the war." Why are we fighting the war? They're in the middle of France. Why are we fighting the war? Seems the Nazis are bad. You hear that? The Nazis are bad. He's reading a newspaper that the Nazis are bad.
I remember that exact
That's my favorite scene. I love that scene. All right, number 5
Classic
for me.
Band of Brothers.
One of my favorite directors, Denis Villeneuve. Finally started going back into the old movies of his. It's so good.
I rewatched this one after you talked about it.
It's so good, Connor. There's so many movies you need to watch. Yeah, Prisoners is good.
I rewatched it after you briefly mentioned it because I hadn't seen it since it came out.
Denis is one of those directors that he has a thing that he's really, really good at, and he just builds his movies around that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because for me, I think Denis is really good at environmental storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at these wide shots that tell a story. Like Sicario is probably exhibit A of just what you can do. Helps when you have Roger Deakins at your side.
I would say Prisoners is probably exhibit A.
I was going to say Prisoners does it that way too, where you see little minute stuff that he comes back to later, or stuff like that, right? Where it's like, he's so good, and that's like you can, and that's how you build a murder mystery or a kidnapping mystery, I guess, in a way that makes it still feel fresh. We know, or at least we think we know, that we're gonna find the kids at the end of the movie, but the way we get there, I think, is the more fun part. Also, it has a great Jake Gyllenhaal performance, probably his best, I would say, unless we're talking like Zodiac or something.
Yeah.
But I think it's when Jake Gyllenhaal started to become less of like a heartthrob and more of a I'm going
Serious
to be one
actor.
of the most important American actors of this generation. I think he's my favorite of that generation. I don't know if you guys would agree.
I don't have much
think
of a
I know anything
comment.
about the
Yeah. I don't know how you're determining these generations.
Yeah.
But
It's
But
like
a
Jake
good stereo.
I know what
Gyllenhaal.
you
It's
mean.
like Jake Gyllenhaal, Heath Ledger, I
Ryan,
would say Ryan
Gosling.
are in that generation, and then the generation before is like Leo,
yeah.
Hugh Jackman,
The Gen Xers.
maybe like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I say there's a lot of people on that list that Isaac sends me memes
Well,
of.
I'm him.
I
He
am
likes
him.
them.
Yeah.
I'm him.
He relates to him.
I am him, so it's okay.
No, James is a little bit different than that.
I've
So
so
relate.
just I don't know. I mean, we're probably gonna do a Denis Villeneuve podcast at some point. In the
Oh, for
future.
Dune 2,
Yeah.
most definitely.
But just for Prisoners, to bring up some things that I noticed watching this, rewatching it. I noticed Denis Villeneuve likes to do this thing where he will almost always, from shot one, begin his film by telling you explicitly what it's about, thematically. You have to pay attention to it. He's one of those directors. He will never be like super explicit, but he does that for everything. He just drops those little details in if you're not paying attention. And for what that is for Prisoners, I have way more to say about when we do another podcast on it for sure.
Yeah.
But I noticed he's definitely one of those directors who will never hold your hand, which I felt
Yes.
yeah, he will definitely just be like, I'm going to show you this, and you know it's related to the plot, but I'm not going to I'm going to let you put together thematically how it's going to relate. You know how the characters figure out what's going on. But there's always this like overarching thing in his films, whether it's the theme or the characters themselves in the case of a film like Enemy, where you're just like, my guy, please give me something here,
It's also, or keep going, sorry.
I was going to make a meme.
Classic.
I was going to say, good use of Radiohead as well. He's a big Radiohead fan. He always puts Radiohead
Isn't
in
it
his
like
film.
one song?
I want to.
Yeah, there's one song at the end.
I'm quitting. I'm leaving. I don't want to.
Oh, God.
Anyway, you guys get on me for my
No, I was just saying. Also, for a kidnapping mystery thriller, there's action in it that is like unconventional action, but like good action scenes.
Yeah.
And very tense, and just it's just another, like I said, another fundamentally sound movie.
But I'll say this is a film where, in terms of thematically, I understood this much more on this second rewatch than I did the first time.
I think this is also when he started to become. I mean, I don't know why I said also. This has nothing to do with your point, but this is when he started to become, I think, more and more mainstream. I think people started figuring out who he was.
There's a reason for
as a
that.
director.
This is his first American film.
I thought Sicario
He
came
had-
before.
Nope, he had only done Canadian Montreal releases before.
Because I
this.
know he did. Was it Enemy?
So this and Enemy
Or-
came out in the same year.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Sicario came out afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Sicario was
I
2015. But yeah, the reason why it feels like he became more mainstream after this is because he was just a Canadian director before this.
That's fair.
French Canadian too, so Americans don't like subtitles.
He's very good. He's a very good director.
Very good directors.
Really don't.
Enemy is one of
Yeah.
my personal favorites from him. That's definitely a mind trip.
Yeah, he's been on a heater this past decade, and
Well, you know my
other
thoughts on
than
Blade Runner.
Dune, I guess, and Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, I
in
have
James's
specific thoughts
opinion.
about. Yeah, personally, I feel like he dropped the ball in that one a little bit.
All right, my number 4 is Spirited Away. We've already talked about it.
Fair.
Mhm.
Understandable.
I watched it at the beginning of the year. It stayed in my head.
Yeah,
through most of the year.
Damn good film.
It will stay with you the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Trust me.
it's very good, very good.
Miyazaki does that.
Number
Right.
3 is Killers of the Flower Moon. Scorsese reinventing himself. Very beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
Very necessary film. Just really good. Number 2 is Heat, which we're definitely gonna do a pod about that. It is the GOAT bank robber movie. It is the GOAT.
I'm sitting here going, Killers of the Flower Moon is number 3. Oppenheimer was number 1. Number 2, like, what else did we talk about? You talk about Heat so often. I would have thought that you watched it like multiple times in the last like 4 years. And I like that movie
I can't
too.
stop thinking about Heat. I almost rewatched it last week. Instead, I watched The Social Network because I was like, I need to watch something a little
Something
less
else.
depressing.
Yeah. So you watched The Social Network.
Yeah, it wasn't that big. It wasn't that. Yeah.
It happens to
Anyways,
the best of us.
yeah, man, I watched Heat. Funny enough, I watched Heat. I think like within pretty early in the year. I think I watched like Blade Runner and Heat back to back days.
Interesting
I think it
1-2
was-
punch.
I think we were doing like it was during the freeze, and we still had our power,
Oh.
and I was at home from work. So I was like, I guess I'm just gonna watch movies.
Yeah, you lucky bastards.
So I watched
We
Heat.
lost power, trust us. Ironic that you watched that during the freeze.
Yeah, right.
True.
It's one of those movies we've mentioned this many times where I went into it knowing it was gonna be really good. Went into it with the expectations this better be the best movie I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, it's pretty good. I would put it like top 15 right now, all time,
Yeah.
which is saying a lot because the top 10 in my list are like.
Yeah, you got to go through Nolan's entire filmography.
I only have two.
I know.
Connor, I've done my top 10 multiple times on this.
I know
pod.
you have, yeah.
I can tell you don't watch it. Anyways, yeah, Heat, really good performances, really good acting, really good directing. Action.
It's honestly another one of those where it's just fundamentals all the way throughout.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And it does all that in a 1990 LA. And it's a movie that doesn't make LA feel like LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like LA the character, which is portrayed in a lot of movies. It's just LA that the average human being
goes to.
goes to. Or
Yeah.
Goes when
Visits.
they live there, that's what
Yeah.
they experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't go to the Griffith Park Observatory. They go to like, I don't know, East Los Angeles
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. I'm not familiar with LA,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna start naming streets.
West Hollywood.
Yeah, and then number 1, Oppenheimer, really good movie.
Really?
Never would have saw that coming.
If you like sound design, Connor, there are multiple YouTube videos that break down the soundtrack and why it enhances the movie.
I'm already gonna watch it at some point. You don't have to sell me on it, my
Just
guy.
saying.
It's not gonna get there any faster. Every
All
time
right.
you tell me to watch,
So that's our
something, I
top.
push it.
That's our top lists.
There we are.
Thank you guys for sticking to that. Now that we want to do TV shows.
Now we're going to do everything else.
Yeah, so, books of this year, James. Any?
Yes.
Throw books. I got some books.
I'd make a recommendation. I read Swan Song by Robert McCannon, which is a post-apocalypse nuclear winter book. It's
love those.
1,000 pages.
Right.
The way you feel about movies is the way I feel about books over 300 words, 300 pages.
300 words.
We love a good chapter.
I have some flash fiction recommendations if you want some short stories.
Got some good fanfics.
But I would definitely recommend. I love post-apocalypse, one of my favorite genres, subgenres of horror, fantasy, sci-fi, whatever.
Boy, have I got a video game series for you.
Metro.
Boy, have I got another video game series for you.
Got a handful of video game series for you, actually.
It's like Fallout.
Fallout. I've played Fallout. Yeah, Fallout's amazing. That was just first one that came into my head. Would be definitely a good post-apocalyptic book.
Cool.
Shout out to the people at the subreddit Horror Lit for that recommendation. If you
Shout
like
out.
The Stand, read
Shout
Swan Song. It's definitely good. A lot of fantasy elements. It's not super realistic, but there's a good stretch of after the bomb drops of maybe just like 200 pages of just the characters trying to survive
Yeah.
that nuclear fallout. And it's a bit of a slog to get through,
I would imagine so, being 1,000 pages.
1,000 pages probably is a slog, yeah.
but it's one of those where it's like I feel like the tedium became the point after a little while, even though I don't always like tedium. Nevertheless, that would be the first one I would say.
Cool.
As like you said, you had a couple. I do too, but I'm gonna let you do
Books.
because I'll monologue more.
Cool.
Comics included, we'll say.
I was gonna say because my first one is a manga,
Yeah.
and it's specifically right there. I started reading Sailor Moon this year.
Nice. That's what I want to hear.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hell
Berserk.
yeah.
I started reading Berserk.
Berserk.
It's pretty
Yeah.
good. I can see what everybody was captivated by it and likes it, and was saddened by the. I told James this, but like I'm not in the know about manga and manga artists. But even I knew that the guy died.
Yeah, because it's a huge deal.
Yeah, because it's just. I mean, his work is impactful on so many things other than manga. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, Dark Souls is the reason it exists is because of Berserk.
They have a ton of stuff from
and
Dark
like
Souls, Berserk.
the anti-protagonists.
Guts.
Yeah, like that style of character. I think is becoming more and more cool, like the dark brooding character, a la Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you know what I meant.
I know what you mean. 100%.
Classic James moment.
Look, trends, they all go in circles and squares and they come back around on each other. What's one person's trend is another person's self-expression, all right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
All right, Connor.
We'll just go book for book. Yeah, we'll just
Yeah, let me get my
Pull up your
list
Goodreads.
we'll just go
Oh,
word,
God.
bar for bar.
All right, so I read a lot this year because that's what I do.
All right, let's make it quick.
All right,
This
so
is
the-
already
No, I'm gonna be fast. I'm fast.
Player's Handbook. No.
so at an hour 50.
My personal recommendation is Children of Time by Adrian, Russian name that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. Hold on, I will let James do it.
I'll get it for you.
James is very good with reading names.
It's Tchaikovsky, one of the most recognizable Russian surnames in history.
Yeah, that's literally. Isn't that like one of the most popular science fiction authors of all time?
We're gonna go on. We're gonna move on.
Oh, man.
And the two books that follow it, just one of the absolute best sci-fi books I have ever read in my entire life.
I've heard nothing but praise, and I haven't even read it.
It breaks down the concepts of. I'm just gonna go out and just say reality, in such a way that like
Nice.
I can't accurately describe it in words. It's just this man does wonders.
Yeah.
He makes love to the pages. And I
It's
mean, I
space
just
opera, right?
yeah.
Okay, that's not a genre that a lot of people go for.
No.
And,
Yeah, I mean, it's just I picked it up on a whim. The back of the book sounded kind of mildly interesting, and it was fat, and I was like, whatever. I could use something like this. And then I read all of them within the span of like a month.
yeah.
I just blitzkrieged them. It was brutal. I read
Bring out the
fast.
Nazis
theme.
again.
That's in theme with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you've watched the Expanse series on Amazon or you read the books, you'll like these because it's very similar in that, they take those concepts that the Expanse does and just makes it better. That'd be my. Yeah.
Nice.
I read a lot of good stuff this year, to be honest with you. But
I did too, honestly.
yeah.
I did.
I imagine we can have a good book podcast.
I have 3 books other than Berserk.
Yeah. The issues are tasteless, so we would have no idea what the other person is talking
It
about.
would be a good like monologue.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stay in this too long.
No, yeah, we can move on.
I mean, favorite book I read this year was easily going to be Why Did I Ever by Mary Robinson, which is just, it's, the way she wrote it, she was suffering from writer's block for like years. So she started writing down on little note cards, just random ideas that came to her. Once she got a lot of them, she
Made a book.
she put them together,
It's usually how it goes.
made the characters' names the exact same throughout, and then sure enough, that was the book. And it is it's short, but it's funny.
What is short to you?
Short to me is, I mean, I read a lot of flash fiction. So like if your story is like a page long, I'm like, yeah, I'll read that.
Okay.
That's short to me, I'm the same way where like I've read a lot of long books, but honestly anything above maybe 400 pages I get really suspicious of. Where I'm like, this has to be like, historically good or like something I like am really interested in and want to read.
Yeah.
If it's going to be that long.
Because that takes forever to read.
Yeah, I do too, honestly. That's why I read so many short books. But yeah, no, that would easily be one of my favorite books I read this year.
I get frustrated
Good literary fiction.
where I'm like, I'm on 250 and I can't even like put my finger halfway through the book.
Read faster. I'm like, oh, dude, it's been like 3 hours since I opened this. Oh, I'm at page 250. Nice.
There were a lot of, the truth be told, when it comes to short books, and I have blitzed through a lot of really short books at the end of this year, mostly to clear up space on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Some of those books I read in like 2 days.
Yeah.
And the pro is they're still good books that I'm still reading.
Yeah.
The con is I don't feel like I get that big of a relationship with the book afterwards. That's why I still read slowly, or at least try to. Even a book like, and I've always kind of said this, that like if you read a book in a day, you didn't read it.
Yeah.
But like something like this, which is literally 73 pages, still took me a few days to read because I just wanted to make sure I really had a connection to it. There is no point. This is just a complete tangent.
We'll have a book pod.
It's already booked. You want to shout out?
That was it. I shouted out.
That was it.
earlier.
All
I
right.
shout out-
I read Dune Messiah. And
You're ready
also
for
another
the
sequel.
sequels.
I read the second Jurassic Park book.
How was that?
I can see why the movie sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be every Michael Crichton book that you read, you'll see the movie and think the exact same thing. And Andromeda Strain, The Sphere, everything.
It's
that's
I don't understand why. I understand why he made it, right? Or wrote it because it's it was one of the most popular books of all time, and the movie was about to be made, so he needed to write a book. I finished it. It was okay, but it wasn't nowhere near the terms of like how
the first one.
good one. Yeah, the first one was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really like the first one. Dune Messiah. It's like the black sheep apparently of the Dune series that Frank Herbert wrote, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently people don't like that one. I liked it.
Interesting.
It helped that it was only like 280 pages.
Yeah.
So
That
I
would
was
do it
able
for
to
you.
knock it out in like 2 weeks. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what he does, what we do when they adapt it. I think it'll be very divisive,
If it's Phil New who does it.
but I like it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Will be the topic that I sit out on. Video
shows?
games. I was going to say video games.
Oh, let's do TV shows.
You want to do TV shows?
Or what?
Did I
Yeah,
watch
I
anything
don't
this
know.
year? Oh, I did. I did watch stuff this year.
Last of Us.
Did you watch any TV
I
shows?
didn't watch Last of Us this year.
No.
It was last year.
I basically don't watch TV.
I watched a
at all.
couple.
Yeah.
Mainly because I got captivated. The way I watch TV is I watch 3 at a time. Don't understand people who do more than that.
I watch like a show at a time, and like I don't even watch TV.
So
Let me take a guess. Succession, Better Call Saul,
that come out this
or ones you watched
year?
at
Did it
least.
come out this year?
I can't remember because like you mentioned Last of Us. I'm pretty sure I watched that last year.
Okay.
No,
But I don't remember.
No, that came out. That came out in January.
Did it really? Yeah. Holy shit. God, my memory is garbage.
No, because I remember because it was literally Last of Us. It was like The Last of Us 2 weeks, Succession 2 weeks, and then White Lotus, and then it TV has died since then. Better Call Saul was last year,
Okay.
which I watched last year because I watched it live.
Right. Yeah. You watched it live.
Yeah,
I remember you talking about it.
yeah.
All right.
Succession
Succession.
was this year though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
The
good.
show of the
It's
year?
on the pantheon of greatest shows of all time. It's
Yeah.
definitely up there. It's so good.
It's. I think Succession is one of those shows, and I haven't even watched it, and I know, and I can say pretty much with full confidence that it's one of those shows that like everything the last season the Game of Thrones did, and everything controversial about Euphoria, like gets forgiven. HBO sins with that.
It's classic
Gets
HBO formula where it's
Yeah.
just a very intimate and complex story about a family. Usually it is about a family, but it's told on a massive scale, which is in this case a news station that is modeled after Fox News. And it's like the drama is so high because the stakes are high, but really they're not. It's just we just really are captivated by the characters,
Yeah.
and how they interact with one another. And it's also a story about the modern family.
which HBO definitely loves.
Yeah, and the idea of Succession, which is what the name of the show is.
What?
The idea of what comes after. At what point are you doing things for yourself, and are you doing things for your kids and stuff like that? There's a lot of themes into it. It's very good. It's modeled after King Lear as well. So
Ron?
it's good. It's good. It's good stuff.
Nice.
Good callback, James.
Thank you. TV show.
I
of
also
the year.
watched The Wire.
The Wire.
Season 1.
That's right.
Season 1.
Classic
Very good.
television.
Also a Pantheon show.
Probably the.
Yeah, it's like top 4.
Yeah.
No, that's just season 1. I heard that every other season after 1 is like hit or miss, or like there's definitely like
Classic.
there's definitely a valley.
Season 4.
There's definitely like valleys and peaks.
Mhm.
But I
Every
really
show
liked
has
season
that.
1. I haven't gone
Yeah.
anywhere into it because I've just been so busy.
Mhm.
I haven't gone past it. But
It's definitely one of those shows where I feel like you hear so much that it's so good that you watch it, and even if you just kind of feel neutral about it, you still can recognize that it's a good show. And honestly, if you just watch season 1, I feel like you can still walk away and say this is a fantastic show anyway. So
it's funny
that's
because
what
I
did for
started that
years.
show being like, I think I'm gonna be a cop. I should be a cop. This is also when I was unemployed.
Yeah,
So I was like contemplating career change.
yeah.
So I was-
Anyone who would hire you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, should I
anyone.
just be? It's like I think I could be a cop. I could be like a detective. And at
Yeah.
the end of the show, when everything like, there's a lot of things that just bureaucracy happens.
Yeah.
At the end of the season, and I'm like, I couldn't be a cop. This is why I hate government.
For sure. Me after watching In the Watch.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a show I watched. It was good.
Yeah.
Last of Us.
Last
Very
was
good. We've
amazing.
talked about that many
Incredible. Yeah,
times.
we've talked about it quite a bit. One of the best adaptations of all time.
I would say the best. I think I was very lukewarm on that take when we talked about it last time.
last time you were very.
I think I agree. It's the best.
It
Yeah.
is very difficult to capture a game that perfectly,
Yeah.
and they did.
I think my problem is more of the actual show itself. Like in a vacuum, it
Yeah.
as a television show
Mm.
is where I have flaws, where I can
Which
see
is
the
fair, yeah.
flaws. But yeah, bringing the story over, I didn't think it could. Especially a game like The Last of Us that you have to be Joel
Yeah.
in order to be. Which,
To get it, you know.
yeah. So
I really hope they do Last of Us Part 2 in a show. I really want to see that. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
Um.
I just want to see the internet freak out again.
Right, yeah, guys, it'll be so much fun.
I would love to see it. I'm gonna laugh when the show fans are actually more accepting of the second game than the game fans.
Right. Yeah. Stuff that I watched. This technically came out last year, but I watched it this year. Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah.
The animated
like
show,
it?
yeah.
The anime,
made
yeah.
you- made you
Studio
download-
Trigger does it again.
It made you download the game.
It made me download the game.
Yeah. and then you
yes.
found out the game
It's-
is mid.
I'm loving the game.
Damn it.
I haven't put.
I'm gonna get somebody on my
Game of the year, man.
I'm gonna
What are
get
you
somebody.
talking about?
It came out 6 years ago. How was
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it did. 2020, 2019.
That's not 6 years ago.
Okay, close enough. Connor, I exaggerate.
But yeah, no, I mean like.
Pissed me off so much when I found out it was nominated for Game of the Year. It came out 4 years ago.
It's
Anyways.
definitely a different game now. I'm gonna tell you that
Continue.
much. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I interrupted you.
but yeah, no, I mean like that is just. Like I said, Studio Trigger does it again.
Honestly, genuine question.
Yeah.
What percentage is it quality Studio Trigger and actually just a quality show?
It can be both.
Because there are times with Studio Trigger, you get Little Witch Academia, which is just quality show, and then you get
Watch
stuff
yourself.
like
I know you're gonna
Continue.
say, watch yourself.
I don't know.
this is a scene in the movie where a character hears a gun click behind their head.
You guys might not see James later. Go on, say it.
Like,
I
I
know what you're
want
gonna
to say
say.
kill or kill.
Anybody who doesn't like Kill la Kill is wrong. I'm saying it now.
If you're as confused as I am right now, leave a like.
No, it is very much the strand of like the story is very good. It tells a very good story in the
Okay.
setting of the cyberpunk world. You grow to love the characters a lot. They're varied and unique.
Are characters in the game?
No, it's a completely unique story that
Okay.
I don't know if they
I
gave it
didn't
to
know.
Trigger or if Trigger made it up. There's references in the game now because the show did so damn well.
Nice.
But yeah, it's an amazing, well done. It's faithful to the source material because I ended up doing a lot of research about this afterwards.
Yeah.
Nice.
Downloaded the RPG or the tabletop RPG if you guys are interested in that.
Oh damn, you're like fully into Cyberpunk.
Dude, my cyberpunk brain rot is bad.
Oh, Joe. Oh god.
Yeah.
We've
I
lost-
pulled up my Steam playtime, for the year. They did their Steam recap.
Yeah.
The only thing that I've played in the last 3 months has been Cyberpunk.
Yeah, we need to get you help.
That and Final Fantasy, obviously.
Go play
But,
something.
Honestly,
like,
I think now that I think about it, Kill or Kill probably isn't the best example of that anyway. So.
Yeah, there's definitely some worse. There's definitely some worse Trigger shows. But
It's-
anyway,
Not even Studio Trigger, but I was gonna say Panty Stocking.
I'm gonna commit a hate crime.
so another
Anyway.
TV show.
But yeah, no, just a great show. I highly recommend it. If you like Trigger,
Okay.
if you like the concepts of a cyberpunk dystopia, very good show.
Okay.
Cool.
I'll watch at least one episode.
Yeah, that's fair. That's all I ask.
It's usually how I am with
Yeah.
Netflix shows.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in for like 2 episodes. See where it goes after that.
I'm not saying this as a Trigger fanboy. I'm saying this as it's a good
I don't know, man.
Okay.
You were 6 hours.
Yeah,
you were
right now.
60 hours into Cyberpunk.
A little more than 60, my God.
Sounds like. Is there even more than 60 hours worth of content?
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit.
Other than just driving around?
I would say, admittedly, I'm on my second.
It's like when people were like, "Oh, it's like, oh,
Okay.
people were like, "Oh, it took me 100 hours to beat GTA." It's like, yeah, because you spent 75 of that just driving.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no.
just played tennis all the time. What are you talking about?
Joke's on you. Driving sucks in that game. I teleport everywhere.
I think that's why I can't stand voice protagonists. That's why I didn't like
It's all good.
Cyberpunk.
Are we going to talk about video games now? Is that going to be our
it's a
segue?
No, I still got more. I still got 2 more TV shows.
All right, go ahead.
You have any more?
No, that's
Oh,
all.
okay, I was gonna say The Bear.
Yep.
Bear's
I knew you
pretty
were
good.
going to say that.
I
Season
don't
1 or
agree
season 2?
that everybody's like, this is the greatest TV show of all time.
Mhm.
It's
It's
not.
too.
It's not even the best one that came out this year.
Yeah. It's too narrow, like concept and
Yeah.
like, appeal. I think to really be greatest of all time kind of factor. But definitely, I knew you were going to say The Bear.
Yeah, it's good. And I don't know. People were always like, oh, it's the acting's great. Like who's the
Realism of it too.
Laurie Strode. Who's Laurie Strode? What's her name?
I'll look it up. Continue talking that while.
But she's a guest character, and people were like, "Oh, she should be nominated for awards. This is the greatest actor I've seen in television." It's like she's just yelling in all of her scenes. Like, what? My least favorite thing is when people equate screaming to good acting.
yeah,
And
for sure.
I feel like just people online do that a lot. So, yeah, it's a good show though. It's fun. I think it's like 8 episodes. They're all like 30 minutes, so it's a quick, easy.
No, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really.
That's one of the
I think I
things I like
binged half of it in one day, and then went back and watched the other half in one day. So they're like 4 and 4 or something.
Interesting. Not on the Wikipedia.
And then my last TV show was Yellowstone, which I binged an entire season of in one day.
Heard a lot about that
I
one.
just love it. I love it. It's not for everybody. It's a soap opera for men, but I am a man, and I like trashy drama.
That he is.
I do like
Hot take. Isaac is a man.
I've told Isaac this. I have the complete opposite opinion of Yellowstone. I do not gel with the soap opera parts of it whatsoever. As much as I like Taylor Sheridan, he could not pay me to watch.
So what I'm hearing, James, not a man. You heard it here first, folks.
Anyways,
Touche.
Do I get to monologue now?
let's do some quick games.
Hell yeah.
Quick games.
Quick.
Quick.
So number 1, I think we can both just admit it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Of the year, whole entire game of the year? No.
He's gonna say Baldur's Gate.
Nope. Fuck no, I'm not gonna say Baldur's. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm not saying Baldur's Gate. Hell no. All right. Tears of the Kingdom was one of my few 5 out of 5s.
Oh, he actually has a list for these.
Of course, yeah. No, my personal 5 out of 5, and I think the game of the year for me is Hi-Fi Rush. Tears of the Kingdom was great.
I haven't heard
Don't
of
get me wrong. I love Tears of the Kingdom.
Never played that game.
it. I'm gonna have to Google
Um,
this.
That's the thing.
I've never even heard of that
This is
game.
a game that
Oh, Connor over here pulling out indie games.
it's not actually an indie game.
Oh, really? You're pulling out obscure.
Believe me, there's indie games that I could talk about.
I like the art style.
It is a game that was not advertised at all. It was shadow dropped on Steam, and it was like
Oh, is that why you got into it?
no
Oh, Kill. No.
good bit.
I was gonna say this looks like a Persona like
It was.
minigame.
The,
yeah.
2 of the characters are Persona characters.
Yeah.
The entire thing behind it
It's a
is that
rhythm-based action game.
it's a rhythm-based action game where the entire
Rhythm-based action game.
world moves to the beat.
Oh, I have heard about this one
Yeah.
actually. Yep.
It is
Starting
so
to jog some memory.
beautifully stylized in every sense of the word that you just have to at least see it. You have to at least watch somebody play it to understand. Because it's just like every minute detail is to the rhythm of these songs, which are all certified bangers. There is not a bad song on the soundtrack.
I saw 9 Inch Nails on there.
And because you know what? They understand people stream video games now, right?
Yeah.
Every single song on the soundtrack has an original version that they rewrote so that you can have a stream of
Oh,
it.
so you don't get DMCA'd.
So you don't get DMCA'd. And all of them just as good as the actual songs on the stuff.
Nice.
It is
Nice.
incredible. It's a very short game. It's maybe like 15 hours. which I recognize
I
isn't.
like how that's the problem with video games.
When I look at the other play times for everything else that I've done this year,
Fair enough.
where Baldur's Gate was like 138.
Yeah, I can go on a rant about playtimes for video games.
15 hours is pretty short.
I can go on a long rant about.
The characters are interesting. They're unique. They're fun. They're varied. It's just perfection in every sense of the word.
What's it on? PC?
Yeah,
Just PC?
I played it on PC. Yeah. It's on a couple things. I think
Okay.
it's on everything.
Cool.
Except probably Switch because
Maybe
Switch
I'll
can't
get it
handle
with the
shit.
Steam sale.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The combat system's fantastic. I'm gonna stop gushing. Otherwise, we'll be here for a while.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right. So then the other games on my list.
All right, my number one, F1 2022. You guys are talking to a 6-time world champion.
Yeah.
Only 6?
I mean, I
Yeah.
talked about Tears
a
of the
long
Kingdom.
game.
I had a
We
couple
an entire
DNFs
episode
this last season. I lost to Lance Stroll.
I'm sorry.
In a McLaren.
Only time Lance Stroll will ever be a world champion
In a McLaren.
in a
Oh,
McLaren.
dude, you suck. I don't even know much about F1. I know you suck.
Shout out to Rebecca. McLaren finally got me.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Tears of the Kingdom. We had a whole
Yeah.
episode on it, so I'm not going to dwell on the
Very
fact
good.
that it's
Very
an
good
amazing
game.
game.
Very good game.
Um,
Unfortunately, not replayable.
yeah, I mean, that's just how it is. And I mean, I
Too big of a world for me to want to go back. and
it
revisit.
loses
I
points
felt the
because it
exact
is,
same way about Breath of the Wild anyway.
yeah.
I mean, that is how I feel about it. I haven't played Breath of the Wild since I beat it.
I think I replayed Breath of the Wild once, and that was because Tears of the Kingdom was coming out, and I was like, I should refresh my memory, and I skipped so much content. I just blitzed it.
That's the thing with some of those games, and I don't even really play video games all that much, but I can tell you, I had the same experience with Fallout, where it's like I explored every corner that I felt like I possibly could,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I wouldn't even
go
want to
back.
replay
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I feel like, and I know some people have the exact opposite opinion of that. They're speedrunners, but nevertheless.
Which brings to one of the other games that I think deserves mention, even though it's already been mentioned. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3. That was...
Spend any time on Reddit, and you'll see Baldur's Gate.
Boy, people love to circle jerk that game, don't
Yeah,
they?
seriously.
You would act like people acted like Halo 3 just re-released.
Oh my
I
god!
was like,
I mean,
yeah, it's
listen,
a good game, but
it's a good
like,
time. It
Yeah.
I ranted to a couple of my friends when the Game Awards happened, and it swept, and I was like, it's good, but it doesn't deserve as much as it got.
Oh, I mean, this fucking Spider-Man should have won some of
No,
the
it
voice
shouldn't.
acting.
Wrong.
I don't know, man. I was watching gameplay and
No,
the
I mean,
voice acting in Spider-Man is, I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
It's not a debate we should have.
Anyway,
right
yeah,
now. I mean,
yeah,
we
yeah.
can't have it. Fuck it, I'm gonna have it.
no, we're moving on. We're moving on. If we're talking voice acting, you want to talk voice acting?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, voice acting.
No, Spider-Man and Baldur's didn't deserve it. You want to know what did? Armored Core 6.
Oh, I was gonna say Tears of the Kingdom.
I was gonna say Armored Core.
Yeah. How do you have characters that you never see still be better acted than most of the characters in modern games and movies ever?
It's because you don't see them. It's
'cause
you
you
can fill in your imagination with whatever
That's
you
facts. That's facts.
I know why. It's for the bit, James.
want. My apologies.
The fact that Armored Core 6 won a single award this year is a travesty. That's the only other 5 out of 5 on my list.
You hear it, Travis?
Mech games aren't popular.
They should be.
I don't disagree.
Who doesn't love
Why
giant
are you
robots?
getting mad at me?
I'm mad at the establishment.
Uh-oh, Connor. Uh-oh.
Why are you yelling? It's just game.
He's getting too far gone. He's too far gone.
See, well, I sat through your guys talking about
Yeah.
all your
Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
that I didn't watch, so I was like, now it's my turn.
It's funny we bring up Spider-Man because Spider-Man Miles Morales is on my list.
I mean, they're
game.
good games.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fun. I didn't play the second one because I don't have a PS5.
Same.
Unfortunately, I do not have a PS5.
But yeah, I mean, just like I really enjoyed watching.
Yeah,
all
it
the
was 8
Spider-Man
hours.
friends
I
crying
bought it
about
for $20 on sale. I think for I think it was like the summer sale or something.
I feel like that also helps with how you feel about games because like there are certain games are like
facts.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm
I
like-
haven't bought a full price game in like 10 years.
as I
Maybe
say,
Fallout 4 I think was the last full price game.
yeah, there's a couple times where I played a game and I was like, I bought this at full price and there it drops points.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go play Hi-Fi Rush.
Resident Evil 4. Did you play that?
No.
I did.
I don't
Very
play
good.
scary
Very
stuff.
fun. Starfield? Oh, you don't like Bethesda.
Well, also that I mean, come on,
I like Starfield. What?
not their best game, was it?
No, definitely not.
It's like,
I got
it's like
bored.
not really anything I have against
Yeah,
Bethesda.
I
It's just
actually
looked like crap.
I actually uninstalled it after 25 hours.
Yeah, as I say, it looked bad as hell. I don't understand why people are hyped
I
about
don't
it.
care
It looked
about
awful.
graphics.
No, not visually. Like the entire game itself looked bad. Like I was just like, nothing about this seems appealing to me. It's just Skyrim in space.
That is the appealing part because Skyrim is still one of the top 10
See,
games of all
the problem
time.
is the problem is that you
I hate
can't.
people like you who are like Skyrim was a bad game.
I don't dislike Skyrim.
No, it's not a
you can't
bad game.
port Skyrim directly to space, and that's what they did. You need to change it to fit space, and they did nothing to do that. So it's garbage.
No, I agree there are definite flaws,
Yeah.
but I think Skyrim is still a bad example of like,
No, I mean,
oh, this game is bad because it's
No.
just Skyrim in a different setting. It's like,
I mean, I use that as a like they had a really cool concept, and then they didn't deliver. Like if you're like, oh, dude, it's Skyrim, but like with X random BS. It's like, well, okay, it's a really cool thing that they didn't port properly because like it's been dead for years.
You guys are getting too deep in the weeds at this point.
Yeah, we are. Moving on. Moving on. What else came out this year?
I played the Halos again.
Oh, we love the. I mean, yeah, that's if we rank the Halos, it's always game of the year.
Well, it's been a while since I actually played them.
Trying to think. What else?
So they're good games.
You know what? I played a really cute maybe 5-hour game called Solar Ash, indie title.
Solar
Oh,
Ass.
bringing
Solar
out
Ash.
the indie titles.
That was very fun. I don't think it came out this year though. I don't actually know when it came out at all. But, that was a cute little. It's just a fun movement game. You
I
just
get a
kinda
solar
run around.
rush every time I go outside.
I played Crusader Kings 3, which is a game where you basically try and take over all of Europe as a like
You know,
feudal,
I should look
as a medieval king. So I started
Clash
out
of Clans.
I started out as a count in Ireland and I took over all of the North Sea.
Hell yeah.
Only the North Sea?
And I'm currently working on France.
Okay. Are you fighting Napoleon?
Yeah, I'm trying to take him back. I'm trying to take it back.
Oh, no. Nice.
So that was a good game.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it for
I mean,
me.
that's
Ready to wrap it up?
I've talked about everything. Another fun indie game. If you like Jet Set Radio, Bomb Rush.
Okay, we're not
Cyberpunk.
shouting out games. It's games that you actually liked.
I did. It's on here. 4 out of 5. I actually played a lot of really good bangers this year. I have a lot of 4 out of 5s.
Yeah, I
Last
just
year
want
was
to
a lot
shout
of
out
3 out of
Madden
5.
24.
Let's see. Yeah, last year was a lot of bad games. This year was a lot of good games.
Shout
It was
out PGA Tour 2K23.
A shout out to the Texas Rangers winning the World Series.
Shout out to the Texas. Damn, I should have
Listen,
run Rangers.
dude, you had 11 movies on your list. I'm not allowed to have 5 games.
and I went through them quick.
Yeah, I was going through those quick. I literally said the name of the game, and you're like, all right, you're done.
Because you're going, all right, shout out.
Well, yeah, they're not in any particular order.
There's a difference between shouting out something and being like, yeah, one of my favorite games of all time this year.
Because I was going to talk about... Never mind, moving on.
All right. So that's it from us.
Anyways, yeah, that was 2023. It was a good year.
I year for a lot of stuff.
Good year. Like
Not
I
a good year for my life, but
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward.
Yeah.
Looking forward
for
Seriously.
media, quality time.
2024. Is there anything exciting you guys are excited about?
Dune.
2024.
Dune.
Really, just Dune. I went through the movies that are coming out next year.
I have no idea.
So bad.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming out.
A lot of it's because of the strike. So a lot of movies that were supposed to come out next year are not coming out till 2025. But I mean, another thing too is like with the pandemic, all the good movies came out this year.
Yeah.
So like, it's weird.
Dune.
I think 2023. Just to recap, just final bow on on the present. I think it's gonna go down as one of those movies, those years in movies where it's just super influential. Like 1998, 2007, even like 2014, 15, 13, like that. One of those years. 2019, which we've talked about,
Yeah.
that was a good year. I think it's just gonna be one of those years.
I mean,
I'm very excited for the Oscars this year.
Barbenheimer alone,
Yeah.
I think, is could be what people remember most.
When a Martin Scorsese and David Fincher movie don't capture, aren't movies
when
of
they
the
aren't
years,
the most important movies that came out that year.
that's when you know we had a banger year.
Yeah. And it gave us Godzilla -1.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna go watch it.
Yeah. A24 released Instagram Reel the movie with Iron Claw.
God, A24.
What have you done?
Oh, look at how they massacred my boy.
They're just turning into a studio. It'd be like
Yeah.
the way people act about A24 is like there's only one director that works for A24.
You would think. Yeah.
Instead, it's like no, they're just becoming like Fox or like Sony, where it's like, hey, did you see the new movie starring Zac Efron that Sony's coming out? It's like doesn't hit the same.
Yeah. But if it's A24,
Yeah.
that's
No,
real independent cinema right there.
They're not even. They're not even independent at this point. All right, we're out of here. That was a 2 hour and 20-minute podcast.
Let's go.
Nice.
So
Not our longest.
I got one more in me.
Let's make it even 3 hours. We can talk about some more stuff. Come on.
No.
Let's make it an episode that Connor wouldn't watch on
All
principle.
right, music that came out this year.
I don't actually know.
Olivia Rodrigo. What are we doing, guys?
Oh my
All
God,
right,
this is
Catch you guys
over.
later.
album of the year. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're out.
See you.
See ya, guys.